Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi exchanged a glance, and together with Xu Long, the three of them jumped down into the tomb. Xu Long wasn't particularly strong and clearly terrified, but to his credit, he still followed them despite his fear. Is the primordial dragon's inheritance really that powerful? Su Zimo asked. He wasn't interested in the inheritance itself, but rather in whether the primordial dragon could fulfill the second page of his beast compendium. Very powerful, Xu Long replied. It's said that whoever obtains the primordial dragon's inheritance gains the qualification to enter the dragon race. But that's just what I've heard. I can't say for sure if it's true. Su Zimo nodded slightly. The three of them continued to fall, cold wind howling around them as a mighty draconic aura spread throughout the air. When they finally landed, they found themselves before a sealed tomb gate. Below them stretched an endless ocean. This place connects to the vast sea? Someone exclaimed. Everyone knew that Sunsword County bordered the vast sea. Indeed, the entire Dragon God Imperium was built upon lands surrounded by that great ocean. But none had expected that the ground beneath their very feet was actually floating above those same waters. They all held their breath as they descended. Though submerged, it didn't hinder cultivators of their level. Longer. What are you doing down here? Shu Hai's voice came sharply. He had spotted his son. He had only brought the elders and Shu Hu with him this time. Everyone else had been ordered to stay behind. After all, the struggle for inheritance was a battle of life and death. No one would hold back. Should they fall, at least the Shu Heavenly clan would retain a bloodline. I just came to join the fun with my friends, Xu Long said quickly. Nonsense. Get back up at once, Shu Hai scolded. It's too late for that, Qi Kuangyin said with a faint smile. Hasn't Lord Shu noticed yet? At those words, Shu Hai frowned and began to sense his surroundings carefully. Only then did he realize something was wrong. The sea around them seemed calm, but when anyone tried to ascend, the waters emitted a terrifying suppressive force that pinned them down. Once inside, the only way forward was ahead. There was no turning back. Shu Hai sighed heavily, his face dark. Since things are as they are, Gong Sun Muyu of the Drunken Red Dust Inn said softly, I suggest we all proceed together for now. Let's not fight amongst ourselves. There are likely many dangers ahead. When we reach the true inheritance, we can compete as we see fit. I agree, Shu Hai said immediately. Agree? With you? One of the bandit brothers snorted. This inheritance belongs to us and no one else. Without further hesitation, the two bandits stormed ahead toward the great door. The massive gate loomed before them, half submerged in shimmering blue water that grew purer and deeper in color the closer it came to the door. At the center of the gate coiled a blue sea dragon. Its presence radiated immense might, its visage fierce and divine, making it hard for anyone to meet its gaze. Its two eyes resembled a pair of dragon pearls, smooth, translucent, and seemingly containing their own boundless worlds. The elder bandit placed both hands on the door and pushed with all his might. Veins bulged along his arms and forehead, his body trembling, but the door didn't move an inch. Let me try, his younger brother said, joining in. Yet even together, their combined strength had no effect. Both men were soon drenched in sweat. You too should save your strength, Shu Hai said calmly. Look at the inscription beside the door. They stopped and turned. On the side panel, a line of glowing characters had appeared. Of the 5 elements, what is missing? Water. Water. Qi Kuangyin frowned. Does it refer to the water primal Tao or water nomological truth? He turned to the crowd and called out, Who among you cultivates water attribute techniques? Everyone looked at one another in confusion. Gong Sun Muyu, however, stepped forward and said, Water doesn't necessarily mean cultivation water. Oh? What does the mistress think it means? Shu Hai asked curiously. Look around, she said softly. We're surrounded by endless seawater. How could this place possibly lack water? Her words made many furrow their brows in thought. She stood still, her light blue dress blending with the ocean around her as though she herself were part of it. Soft bubbling sounds rose as countless bubbles began to appear around her body, forming a dense sphere of shimmering water. Then, with a muffled pop, all the bubbles burst at once, transforming into a translucent blue aura that surrounded her like liquid light. Protected by that luminous veil, Gongsun Muyu walked forward step by step, and to everyone's astonishment, she passed straight through the sealed gate as if it weren't even there. The crowd stared in disbelief. "I see," Wu Zhaodi murmured to Su Zimo. "This tomb must contain trials. The outer gate is the first test, one of comprehension. Whoever can grasp the essence of water can pass through." She closed her eyes and began meditating, trying to comprehend it herself. But Su Zimo shook his head. "No need to trouble yourself." With a flick of his wrist, 3 shimmering blue barriers appeared, descending to envelop himself, Wu Zhaodi, and Shu Long. This? Wu Zhaodi's face remained composed, but inwardly she was shocked beyond words. "You cultivate a water element technique?" she asked, her only possible explanation. Su Zimo merely smiled and said nothing. Under the envious gazes of everyone around, the 3 of them stepped easily through the gate. Inside, the scene changed again. Ahead stretched rows of small boats, each floating gently on the waves. Every person was permitted only a single vessel. But the sea beneath them was no longer the serene blue of before. It had turned a sickly white, churning with bubbles and foam. "What do we do now?" Shu Long asked nervously. "Just get on a boat," Su Zimo said calmly. "I'll protect you." Such trials held no interest or challenge for him. He merely wanted to see the primordial dragon itself. Trusting him completely, Shu Long stepped onto one of the boats. The moment he did, the vessel shot forward like an arrow released from a bow. Su Zimo followed closely behind, while Wu Zhaodi, capable of defending herself, managed her own path. As soon as they entered the White Sea, the waters began to churn violently. Faint dragon roars echoed through the mist, and Su Zimo frowned slightly. There were no true dragons here, only lesser flood dragons lurking beneath the surface. In an instant, several of them emerged, massive bodies coiling as they charged toward the boats with crushing force. Towering waves rose, threatening to capsize everything. Su Zimo frowned again, clearly impatient. He wasn't interested in wasting time. Primal Tao of space and time surged from his hand. With a single boom, the force exploded outward, freezing everything in place. Every flood dragon, every raging wave, instantly turned still as statues. In that moment, the entire world became motionless. Aside from the 3 of them, nothing else moved. Brother-in-law Yu? Even Shu Long, no matter how slow he was, could now tell that something about Su Zimo wasn't ordinary. "What is it?" Su Zimo asked calmly. "Senior, I was blind to your greatness," Shu Long said quickly, no longer daring to call him brother-in-law. "If you say that, it makes us sound distant," Su Zimo smiled. "You may not be strong, but I find you likable. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered to protect you." "Brother-in-law is right," Shu Long said hurriedly. Su Zimo turned and glanced at Wu Zhaodi. Surprise flickered briefly across her face before she steadied herself and asked, "I knew it. You're not an ordinary person. But with your strength, are you really here for the inheritance?" "You wouldn't understand," Su Zimo said, shaking his head. "What do we do now?" Shu Long asked again, confused as ever. "Following the path of inheritance is too tedious," Su Zimo replied. "It's better to find the primordial dragon directly." "How do we find it?" Shu Long asked, scratching his head. He didn't understand any of this. He was simply following Su Zimo's lead. Su Zimo took out Traceless Compass and then the Beast Compendium. The pages of the book slowly began to turn, as though channeling the entire destiny of the ancient demon race into that ancient book. Traceless Compass began to spin, faster and faster, until it abruptly stopped. Wisps of dragon aura drifted through the air, faint but distinct. "Follow the dragon aura," Su Zimo said. He stepped onto the frozen waves. Since everything around them was still under his temporal seal, they wouldn't sink. They followed the drifting dragon aura to the edge of the sea. The trail led northward, and beyond the white ocean lay the resting place of the primordial dragon. The ground was overgrown with weeds, scattered with countless bones bleached white with age. Ahead loomed the immense skeleton of the dragon itself, its bones towering 1,000 meters high and stretching 10,000 meters long. The sight was awe-inspiring. Just as they were about to step forward, movement came from behind. Gongsun Muyu appeared, her figure gliding swiftly toward them. "She followed us?" Xu Long asked. "Probably not," Su Zimo replied with a shake of his head. "We all took different routes, but it seems every path leads to the same destination. So this must indeed be where the primordial dragon rested." Gongsun Muyu looked up and spotted them. A flicker of surprise crossed her face. She had entered first, yet somehow they had arrived before her. She had noticed Su Zimo back at the Drunken Red Dust Inn but hadn't paid much attention at the time. Seeing him again now, she was clearly more cautious. "Second young Master Xu," she greeted politely. "Greetings, mistress." Xu Long returned the greeting respectfully. "Why don't we proceed together?" Gongsun Muyu suggested with a smile. Perhaps the primordial dragon left behind other traps or tests. "No need. You're too weak. It's unnecessary," Su Zimo said flatly. "In that case, each for our own gain," she replied lightly. The next instant she suddenly struck. Her right hand transformed into a sword, and an overwhelming sword intent erupted from her body. The slash tore through the heavens, descending toward Su Zimo and his companions. "A tangible sword and an intangible one," Su Zimo said with a faint smile. "Interesting." At those words, Gongsun Muyu's eyes widened. She tried to retreat, but it was already too late. Su Zimo's hands closed together, catching her transformed right arm in midair. With a single pull, he dragged her in front of him. Though nothing stood behind him, his movement placed her directly in the path of an invisible attack. A sharp "ft" sounded as an unseen sword strike sliced through Gongsun Muyu's body. Blood sprayed into the air as Su Zimo flung her aside like a rag doll. Her sword technique looked strange and deadly, but in truth it was nothing special. She used her visible sword as a distraction. The real killing move lay in her formless sword intent. Back at the Shu Manor, that same unseen blade had injured Lin Dong before anyone even saw her draw. Su Zimo had seen through it immediately. It wasn't that her sword was invisible, but that her sword intent itself was the weapon. "Impressive, young master," Gongsun Muyu said, standing up, her expression now cautious. "Get lost. Don't stand in my way," Su Zimo said indifferently. But Gongsun Muyu ignored the warning. Her blue dress swayed in the sea breeze as her body began to spin gracefully. As she turned faster and faster, her figure blurred, until she transformed into a massive, blooming peony flower. "So that's why you're so fond of peonies," Su Zimo chuckled. "You're a peony spirit." "What spirit?" "I am the peony fairy," Gongsun Muyu said proudly. "It's just a name," Su Zimo replied, shaking his head. "Fragrant blossom," she shouted. The great peony pulsed, releasing waves of pink mist that spread outward. "Peonies symbolize grace and beauty," Wu Zhaodi said coolly. "But this one reeks of seduction." With a wave of her hand, spirit energy surged around her, condensing into the form of a celestial Luan bird. The celestial Luan soared into the air, its cry piercing through the void. "The true bloodline of the celestial Luan?" Gongsun Muyu exclaimed in surprise. "You're a direct disciple of the celestial Luan god realm." "Save your breath," Wu Zhaodi said curtly. The celestial Luan dove downward, its talons sharp as divine steel, aiming to tear the peony apart. But just as its claws struck, the peony abruptly closed its petals, swallowing the Luan whole into its center. The celestial Luan thrashed violently but was slowly devoured, its cries fading. "Little sister, your technique is impressive," Gongsun Muyu's voice echoed from within, "but you lack the strength to control it." Su Zimo glanced at the enormous flower, still without drawing the blade on his back. Instead, invisible currents of blade intent began to surge through the air. With a wave of his right hand, countless arcs of sword energy shot forward, all aimed at a single point. The peony resisted fiercely, its petals opening wide to absorb each attack. "Let's see how much you can take," Suzumo said, flicking his fingers. The spirit energy of the world roared in response, condensing around him like a tidal wave. Endless sword intent erupted, faster than the flower could absorb. One by one, the petals began to shatter. "You can't kill me." Gongsun Muyu's voice trembled, sensing death closing in. "I won't fight for the inheritance anymore. Just let me go." "Don't be afraid," Suzumo said with a faint smile. "Death is the easiest thing in this world. It happens in an instant. Once I decide to strike, your fate is already sealed." As his words fell, the infinite sword intent descended. Everything was consumed, utterly obliterated. The peony flower was reduced to dust, leaving no trace behind. "Let's go," Suzumo said calmly, turning to the two stunned figures beside him. Wu Zhaodi stared at him, eyes wide. "What realm are you really in?" she asked softly. "It's not important," Suzumo said calmly. "You should focus on getting stronger as soon as possible." "Let's move quickly," Shulong urged. "Otherwise, the others will catch up soon." The three stepped off the coast and into the overgrown land ahead. As soon as they entered, a faint rustling sound came from the grass around them. They stopped and looked around. Out of the dense grass crawled countless insects, tiny creatures no larger than a thumbnail, their bodies a translucent green that glowed faintly in the dim light. At a glance, there were tens of thousands of them, so many they seemed endless. "They're corpse worms," Wu Zhaodi said solemnly. Corpse worms were powerful entities. They were not living creatures but manifestations of a strange force. They only formed near the corpses of mighty beings. These worms devoured corpses to grow stronger. But seeing so many at once even made Suzumo sigh. Just how powerful must the body that created them have been? Corpse worms feared neither flame nor frost. They were not only vast in number but could penetrate anything, extremely difficult to deal with. As the worms swarmed closer from all directions like a tide of death, footsteps sounded nearby. Shu Hai and people from other factions had arrived. "Longer," Shu Hai called in surprise. "Where is the garden mistress?" "She's dead," Shu Long answered truthfully. "Dead?" Everyone was shocked. Gongsun Muyu's strength ranked among the highest in their group. "Killed by these corpse worms," Shu Long said, holding something back. Everyone turned their attention to the advancing tide of corpse worms. Qi Kuangyin said grimly, "Only the corpse of a primordial dragon could attract so many of them. Is there a way to deal with them?" Shu Hai asked. "They fear life force," Qi Kuangyin replied. "If anyone has life elixirs, use them now." As he spoke, a group of black-robed figures stepped forward. They had been silent and motionless until now, but it was clear they had prepared for this. One of them produced a small oil lamp. When lit, the lamp emitted a faint green glow. Though dim, the light carried an unmistakable aura of life that drew attention. The lamp shone like a guiding beacon as the black-robed figures advanced. Wherever the light reached, the corpse worms instinctively drew back, clearing a narrow path ahead. Seeing this, the others exchanged glances. The bandit brothers merely snorted coldly. From the coastline to the dragon's bones was only a few hundred meters, a distance they could cross in about a minute if they moved fast. "What life aura? Cowards!" the elder brother sneered. "However many worms there are, we'll kill them all." With that, the brothers charged forward at full speed. Though arrogant, their strength was real, and their coordination flawless, every movement synchronized as if they shared one mind. One wielded flame, the other frost, fire and ice entwined, their combined force devastating. The corpse worms along their path were annihilated. The brothers laughed proudly as they drew near the dragon bones. But then the number of worms ahead surged. Their advance slowed, their steps faltering. Some of the worms had silently crawled onto their bodies. "Help us!" the brothers screamed, panic breaking through their bravado. But the others only watched coldly. No one moved to help. Longer, come here, Shu Hai called. From his storage ring, he took out a small bottle filled with a glowing green liquid. This is dragon saliva, Shu Hai said with some reluctance. It was secreted by a life-type dragon. I meant to keep it for emergencies, but it seems we'll have to use it now. He poured some out and began applying it to the bodies of the Shu clan members. Longer, why are you still standing there? Shu Hai scolded, seeing his son beside Su Zimo. Father, I'll go in with them, Shu Long said hesitantly. Don't be foolish. This concerns your life. Shu Hai barked. We'll keep him safe, Su Zimo said lightly. Patriarch Shu, you needn't worry. When it came to life force, who could compare to Su Zimo? With a casual wave of his hand, a surge of pure vitality burst forth. That life energy wrapped around the three of them, forming a soft protective barrier. Shu Long hesitated, then quickly ran over to his father. Father, please listen to me. Don't go in. Leave while you can. What's the meaning of this? Shu Hu sneered nearby. Trying to keep the inheritance for yourself? Shu Long shot him a glare but didn't bother to argue. Father, we can't win that inheritance. There's someone far stronger here. Then he turned and left. Having witnessed Su Zimo kill Gongsun Muyu with ease, he knew, with Su Zimo here, no one else stood a chance. Shu Hai frowned in thought. He knew his son wouldn't lie to him. Father, ignore him, Shu Hu pressed. Let's go. The primordial dragon's inheritance. If we get it, our clan's power will soar. Let's see how things unfold, Shu Hai said, hesitating. Then I'll go alone. Shu Hu shouted and rushed toward the dragon bones. He had waited too long for this opportunity. No one would stop him. To him, this was his one chance to rise in power. Shu Hai wanted to stop him but could only sigh heavily. Su Zimo and the others entered the dragon bones and discovered an entirely different world inside. The bones descended into a dark, cavernous passage. They couldn't see the end, just a deep, black void stretching into the unknown. The black-robed group had already vanished without a trace. Su Zimo frowned slightly. There's a strong corrosive energy inside, he warned. You two should probably wait out here. Not when you're here to protect us, Wu Zhaodi teased with a smile. I never said I'd protect you, Su Zimo shrugged. I might protect Shu Long, though. I'm going to kill Qi Kuangyin. I don't need your protection, Wu Zhaodi shot back stubbornly. Shu Long, you and your father stay outside. We'll go in and take a look, Su Zimo said after thinking for a moment. It wasn't the others he feared, but rather the unknown dangers that might lie within the primordial dragon's inheritance. Shu Long didn't insist on following. He had come this far only to follow Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi anyway. The others had already entered the cave after crossing through the tide of corpse worms. Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi exchanged a glance and followed after them. As soon as they stepped into the cave, the light vanished. Darkness swallowed everything. They couldn't even see their own hands. In the stillness, the faint sound of dripping water echoed, each drop striking the stone and breaking the silence. Now can you tell me who you really are? Su Zimo asked. You're that curious? Wu Zhaodi countered. I'm not curious about your identity, Su Zimo said. There are just things I want to ask. If your background were too ordinary, there wouldn't be much point. Since we've gotten along fairly well so far, ask whatever you want, Wu Zhaodi said. If I know the answer, I'll tell you. Have you ever seen the ancient demon race? Su Zimo asked. I have. The celestial Luan god realm sends envoys to pay homage to them every year. A few years ago, I happened to go a few times myself, Wu Zhaodi replied. Pay homage, Su Zimo said in surprise. The celestial Luan god realm should be quite powerful, shouldn't it? In some ways, it's no weaker than the dragon god Imperium, perhaps even more powerful, Wu Zhaodi said after thinking for a moment. So strong, yet still subject to the ancient demon race? Su Zimo murmured. Could the ancient demon race really have become that powerful? After a pause, he asked, Do you know what realm the strongest of the ancient demon race has reached now? That I truly don't know, Wu Zhaodi said, shaking her head. Only the demons themselves know their true strength. In recent years, the God-fiend Abyss Heaven has had several major wars, but the ancient demon race rarely participates directly. Ordinary people have almost forgotten about them, but those of us who know the truth understand that the demons are everywhere. As they talked, a sudden scream echoed from deeper within the cave. Both frowned and quickened their pace. Soon, they came across a corpse, its heart gouged out, its flesh drained of vitality. The body looked like it had been dead for some time, yet they had just heard that scream. One of those black-robed men, Wu Zhaodi said immediately. What happened to them? Keep going, Su Zimo said indifferently. We'll find out soon enough. Wu Zhaodi crouched beside the corpse and pulled back the sleeve of its robe, revealing a wrist marked with a strange symbol, an eye. The vast Heaven Imperium, Wu Zhaodi said, eyes narrowing. These black-robed men are from the royal family of the vast Heaven Imperium. How can you be sure? Just from that mark? Su Zimo asked. Yes, the vast Heaven Imperium's totem is impossible to forge, she said with certainty. It's part of their bloodline, inherited from birth. What kind of power is the vast Heaven Imperium? Su Zimo asked. They border the Dragon God Imperium. Long ago, the two nations often fought, Wu Zhaodi explained. But ever since the vast Heaven Saint Sovereign ascended the throne, the wars have stopped. I didn't expect that even for this primordial dragon's inheritance, the vast Heaven Imperium would send people, she added. The vast Heaven Saint Sovereign, Su Zimo murmured. Yes, Wu Zhaodi said. The Dragon God Saint Sovereign and the vast Heaven Saint Sovereign are called the two sovereigns, the greatest rulers in their empire's histories. If their nations had kept fighting, both would have weakened, letting outside forces like ours take advantage. But when these two ascended, the wars ceased, and instead, they allied. I've heard that even in the empires, some demons hold positions of power, Su Zimo said. That's true, Wu Zhaodi confirmed. Though they kept talking, both remained cautious, watching their surroundings. Eventually, a faint light appeared ahead. The narrow, oppressive cave finally opened up, and they quickened their steps. When they emerged from the darkness, they found themselves before a grand hall. On one side stood the remaining survivors, the black-robed men of the vast Heaven Imperium and Elder Qi Kuangyin of the Three Luan Holy Lands. These were the only two factions left. They faced each other tensely, and Su Zimo's arrival broke the fragile balance. This young master we've met before at the Shu estate, Qi Kuangyin said in surprise when he saw them. Then, with a forced smile, he added, Why not join forces? We'll eliminate these foreigners and then share the inheritance. Share the inheritance? One of the black-robed men laughed mockingly. That's the kind of lie you tell a 3-year-old. You two can stop arguing, Su Zimo interrupted lazily. I'll be taking the inheritance. He looked up toward the far end of the hall, and there, suspended in the air, were 8 massive dragon skeletons. Behind the dragon bones, they were dragging a coffin. The primordial dragon pulling the coffin. The sight alone was awe-inspiring. The coffin itself was dark purple, nearly black, made of some unknown material. That darkness seemed to swirl like a vortex, so deep and endless that it drew the soul toward it, impossible to look at for long. Young man, for your age, your tone is quite arrogant, Qi Kuangyin sneered. In that case, let's remove you first. He exchanged a glance with the black-robed man, and both attacked Su Zimo at the same time. Weren't you looking for revenge? Su Zimo asked Wu Zhaodi with a faint smile. He's yours. He's not my real target, she replied. Just someone I owe a beating to on behalf of the celestial Luan God realm. With that, she leapt into battle against Qi Kuangyin. Qi Kuangyin waved his hand, summoning 3 Luans. These divine birds, though weaker than the true celestial Luan, were still immensely powerful. But when Wu Zhaodi conjured her own celestial Luan, Qi Kuangyin's expression changed dramatically. You're from the celestial Luan God realm, he said. Then his eyes narrowed as realization struck. A celestial Luan at your age, so you're one of the fugitives they branded as a remnant. Remnant, Wu Zhaodi repeated coldly. Her aura flared even stronger. They'll see soon enough who the real remnants are. Those who betrayed their faith and defied heaven, she said. The two Luans collided, unleashing waves of immense power that rippled through the hall. You two should hurry up and finish, Su Zimo said casually, and in that instant, he seized the black-robed man by the throat. With a flick of his wrist, he tore the man's head clean off and flung it aside. Qi Kuangyin froze in horror. That black-robed man's strength had been equal to his own. Yet Su Zimo had killed him effortlessly, like swatting a fly. Su Zimo didn't bother to look back. He simply turned and walked, step by step, toward the coffin the primordial dragon was dragging. When Su Zimo moved closer to the coffin, Qi Kuangyin's expression tensed. He knew there was no hope of escape. With Su Zimo's strength, there was no way he could make it out alive. At this point, all he could do was fight with everything he had left. As Wu Zhaodi's celestial Luan struck once more, Qi Kuangyin didn't dodge this time, he took the hit head-on. A thunderous explosion rang out, mixed with the piercing cry of the Luan. A hole was blasted through Qi Kuangyin's back, blood spraying as he was thrown backward by the impact, hurtling toward the coffin. Su Zimo shook his head and smiled faintly but didn't intervene. Qi Kuangyin crashed hard into the coffin, the impact echoing like a temple bell. He clutched one end of the coffin desperately, his forehead bleeding as he slammed it again and again. The inheritance is mine. Mine. No one can take it from me, he roared madly, forcing the lid open with both hands. But the instant the lid loosened, a decayed stench seeped out. Though faint, it wrapped around him in an instant. Qi Kuangyin's life force drained away in moments, leaving behind only a shriveled skeleton that crumbled off the coffin. Wu Zhaodi's expression turned grim. She stepped closer to Su Zimo's side. Later ones, fulfill one condition for me, and you shall receive the inheritance. A voice came from within the coffin. At the same time, the 8 primordial dragon skeletons hanging above began to tremble. A chorus of deep dragon roars resounded through the air, shaking both Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi to their core. The bones swayed, radiating overwhelming power that filled the confined hall. What condition? Wu Zhaodi asked. In truth, she wasn't particularly interested in the inheritance. With Qi Kuangyin dead and no witnesses, her goal was already achieved. Carry my coffin to the azure mystic heaven, the voice within said. Do that, and not only will you receive my inheritance, you will also be granted entry into the 16 demon races. How are we supposed to trust you? Su Zimo asked with a faint smile. Why don't you climb out of the coffin and let me see your true face? Impudent! How dare you speak to this king that way? The voice snapped coldly. If you're unwilling, Su Zimo said, shaking his head, then forget the inheritance. We don't need it. You've come this far, the voice rumbled. Whether you want the inheritance or not, that is no longer your choice. As the words fell, the 8 dragon skeletons that had been pulling the coffin suddenly came to life, gliding through the air. They floated in a ring above the hall, releasing crushing pressure as they glared down at Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi. Take me to the azure mystic heaven, and the rewards I promised will be yours. Otherwise, you die here. Well, that saves me the trouble, Su Zimo said, grinning. Today, I'll drag you out of that coffin myself. With a single step, he crossed the air and appeared right in front of the coffin. He stomped down hard on it. But the coffin's hardness exceeded all expectations. A dull thud echoed out, not a single crack appeared. The 8 dragon skeletons immediately grew violent, all charging at him at once. They arranged themselves in formation, occupying the 8 positions of a 16-point array, cutting off all escape routes. Relax, Su Zimo said with a smile. I wasn't planning to run anyway. He raised his right hand and caught one descending dragon bone, gripping it tightly before swinging it like a massive weapon. The other 7 dragons were struck aside, sent flying by the sheer force of his blow. Su Zimo's power was monstrous, the energy swirling fiercely within him. "Break!" he shouted. He hurled the dragon bone down onto the coffin. The sharp ends pierced deep into the wood. Suzumo stomped down again, and this time the coffin couldn't bear it. It shattered. The iron chains suspending it in midair snapped apart. From the broken coffin, a surge of black mist erupted. A moment later, a cold, ghastly figure slowly rose from within the darkness. The air filled with the stench of death. "Dragon Monarch?" Suzumo murmured. The figure had a human body and a dragon's head. But death energy poured from him in waves. Clearly, he had been dead for a long time. There was no trace of living dragon might left, only decay. "Should I call you a primordial dragon, or a corpse?" Suzumo asked, smirking. "Young one, you've committed a grave sin and don't even realize it," the dragon monarch said coldly. "I slept for tens of thousands of years, clawing my way toward a sliver of life, only for you to destroy it." "So what?" Suzumo replied calmly. "I came here for you. Why would I be afraid?" "For me?" the dragon monarch said in surprise. "You do not fear this king?" Suzumo smiled and slowly drew out the beast compendium. He needed to confirm whether it would react to the dragon monarch. The book could only record members of the 16 demon races. If the dragon monarch wasn't one of them, the book would have no effect. As the book appeared, Suzumo opened the first page, the recorded image of the arrogant beast. Then he flipped to the second page, and a column of blinding light shot up from it, painting an image in the air above them. It was a 9-clawed golden dragon, its body gleaming with gold, its horns tinged with purple gold, its eyes shining like twin suns, majestic and overwhelming. That's... Even the dragon monarch seemed stunned at the sight of the 9-clawed dragon. "There we go," Suzumo said with a grin. The beast compendium was reacting to him, which meant the dragon monarch could be recorded. He waved his hand, sending out a beam of dragon energy from the mirror straight toward the dragon monarch. The dragon monarch snapped out of his daze, thrashing violently. He opened his maw and spewed a blast of deathly flame that engulfed the dragon energy, burning it to ash in midair. "Who are you?" the dragon monarch roared. "A dying dragon shouldn't ask so many questions," Suzumo replied coolly. "Stop struggling, you'll only make it worse for yourself." He drew his blade. Shadow Tyrant gleamed, radiating countless layers of sword intent that ripped through the hall. Stone shattered and fell. The great hall trembled as if it were about to collapse. "You'd better wait outside," Suzumo said, turning to Wu Zhaodi. There was nothing she could do in this fight anyway. "Be careful," she told him, retreating quickly from the hall. Suzumo slashed down with Shadow Tyrant. The strike hit the dragon monarch's abdomen. No blood came out, only thick, roiling corpse chi. "Down you go," Suzumo said, gripping the blade with both hands. He forced the enormous dragon body downward, slamming it out of the air. The corpse crashed to the ground with a deafening impact. "Boy, I'll remember this," the dragon monarch hissed hatefully. Then, astonishingly, his massive form began to shrink, twisting down into the size of a loach before darting away into the darkness. Suzumo frowned and immediately gave chase. But the 8 dragon skeletons reformed before him, twisting into bone chains that barred his path. Suzumo's eyes narrowed slightly. With a single swing of his blade, the Shadow Tyrant, he tore through the obstacles ahead, shattering all the dragon bones across the ground. When he chased forward again, he discovered that behind the great hall lay countless densely packed tunnels. The dragon monarch, after shrinking his body, had vanished into one of them. Who knew which? It seemed the dragon monarch had long prepared for this. Trying to run? Suzumo gave a faint, amused smile. Above his head, the traceless compass spun slowly. With that tool, as long as the distance wasn't too far, his target could never truly escape. After a few rotations, the pointer fixed on one of the tunnels. Suzumo followed its guidance and rushed inside. The passageways twisted endlessly in every direction, countless paths, winding and complex. Without the traceless compass, not to mention catching up to the Dragon Monarch, Su Zimo himself would have easily lost his way. His figure darted through the darkness for an unknown length of time and countless turns, until finally, a faint light appeared ahead. When he stepped into the light, he realized it led into a massive crystal mine. The mine walls were studded with countless embedded crystals, each radiating a gentle, steady glow. Su Zimo stopped walking. "Come out. You can't hide from me," he said. His voice wasn't loud, but in the depths of the endless cavern, it echoed again and again. "How did you find me?" The Dragon Monarch's hoarse voice sounded, his shadow slowly emerging from behind a crystalline boulder. "As long as I want to, you can't run," Su Zimo replied calmly. "Spare me, and whatever you desire, I can give you," the Dragon Monarch said, his massive body stepping backward, ever wary of the distance between them. "There's no path for mercy," Su Zimo said with a faint smile. "Only a road to death. You want it." The beast compendium turned in his palm, page by page, as strands of dragon energy began gathering around it once again. "Kill!" the Dragon Monarch roared, striking first before Su Zimo could move, hoping to seize the initiative. "Pointless struggle," Su Zimo murmured, shaking his head. Forming a hand seal, he unleashed one of the 10 primordial god scriptures, the Aryan Swastika god seal. Like the gates of hell, the seal erupted with overwhelming killing aura, reflected in the void above. The Dragon Monarch charged straight into it. The Aryan Swastika god seal detonated at point-blank range. A deafening explosion echoed through the cavern as the Dragon Monarch's body smashed into the mountainside, leaving a gaping hole through his abdomen. The surrounding crystal veins shattered, and the fragments shimmered through the air like scattered starlight. Su Zimo walked forward step by step. The Dragon Monarch spat blood, his voice trembling with pain and fury. "Kill me. No hurry. Killing you isn't my goal," Su Zimo said lightly. He flipped open the beast compendium again. Streams of dragon energy rose from it, wrapping around the Dragon Monarch. The Dragon Monarch's instincts recoiled. That aura filled him with dread. He tried to retreat, but there was nowhere left to run. "What is that thing?" he demanded. Su Zimo gave no answer. The dragon energy continued to gather until the Dragon Monarch's massive form was completely engulfed. The beast compendium then burst with powerful suction, pulling him inside. Su Zimo looked down at the artifact. On its second page, once blank, now appeared the image of the primordial dragon. The second page was complete. He closed the beast compendium and walked deeper into the crystal mine. This, he thought, must be the Dragon Monarch's true lair. But clearly, the so-called inheritance was just bait. He found nothing of value, only a single dragon scale. When he picked it up, the scale embedded itself into his skin on its own. Within seconds, scales spread across his body, forming a living armor, a flexible dragon scale cuirass. "Interesting," Su Zimo murmured, retracting the armor. He made his way out of the tunnels. The earlier battle had caused too much destruction. Half the underground area had already collapsed. Seawater from the nearby ocean surged in, flooding the tomb. Su Zimo climbed out swiftly, emerging back near the Sunsword County, the same spot where he'd entered the tomb. He looked around. Neither Wu Zhaodi nor Sunsword himself were anywhere to be seen. Frowning slightly, he made his way toward the city. But as soon as he reached the gates, a group of armed men surrounded him. They wore blue robes and carried identical long swords, disciplined, orderly, well-trained. "What's the meaning of this?" Su Zimo asked, his brows tightening. "Our Lord wishes to speak with you," one of them said. "Then take me to him," Su Zimo replied. He didn't bother resisting. In this god-fiend abyss heaven, he was still unfamiliar with the powers at play, and whoever sent these men piqued his curiosity. Led by the blue-robed guards, he was brought to the Sunsword residence, into the same council hall as before. Inside sat Shu Hai, along with an elderly man with gray hair. The two were speaking quietly, and from the way Shu Hai kept nodding, he was clearly deferring to the old man. My lord, we've brought him, one of the blue robes reported. The old man waved his hand and rose slowly. Accompanied by Shu Hai, he stepped towards Su Zimo, studying him carefully. Where are the people from the vast heaven imperium? The old man asked. And who might you be? Su Zimo countered. This is Grand Tutor Vast Cloud of the Dragon God Imperium, Shu Hai explained quickly. Do we know each other? Su Zimo asked dryly. No, Shu Hai replied hastily. But when Lord Vast Cloud asks, you answer honestly. I represent the Dragon God Imperium, Vast Cloud said. Think carefully before you speak. You people from the Dragon God Imperium really are something, Su Zimo said with a half-smile. While others fought tooth and nail, you didn't even bother entering the tomb, just waiting to swoop in and reap the spoils. At that, Shu Hai wiped sweat from his forehead. He too had wondered why the Dragon God Imperium had shown no reaction to the appearance of the primordial dragon's inheritance in Sunsword County. Now he understood. The mantis stalks the cicada, and the oriole waits behind. Matters of the Empire are none of your concern, Vast Cloud said coldly. Just answer me. Where are the people from the vast heaven imperium? They're all dead, Su Zimo said. You killed them? Vast Cloud's gaze sharpened as he sized him up again. They were all slain by the old dragon monarch. Su Zimo said evenly, of course, he wouldn't admit the truth. So many entered that tomb, yet only you returned alive, Vast Cloud said. Do you expect me to believe you found no inheritance? And if I told you there was no inheritance at all, would you believe that? Su Zimo replied. Tell me now, and I can let you leave safely, Vast Cloud warned. But if you're taken to the Empire, the consequences will be beyond what you can bear. As it happens, Su Zimo said with a faint grin, I was already planning to visit the Dragon God Imperium. I hear your Grand Chancellor is an ancient demon himself. Seeing that Su Zimo showed no fear, Vast Cloud frowned deeply, his expression growing darker. Where did you come from? Vast Cloud asked. No great background, nothing you need to be afraid of, Su Zimo replied with a faint smile. Vast Cloud gave a cold snort, ignoring him, and turned instead to Shu Hai. We're taking this man to the imperial capital. As for you, wait for the Empire's next command. If there's any inheritance, hand it over to the Grand Tutor, Shu Hai advised Su Zimo, his tone hesitant. No need to risk your life for one legacy. He knew well that if Su Zimo went to the capital, his life and death would no longer be his own. The Empire's heart was a dragon's den. No one entered and came out whole. What about Wu Zhaodi and Shu Long? Su Zimo asked with a faint smile. They returned with me, Shu Hai said. Shu Long is my son. He'll stay in Sunsword County. But Wu Zhaodi, like you, will be going to the capital. Oh well, at least I won't be lonely on the road, Su Zimo said lightly. You? Shu Hai could only sigh and shake his head. The blue-robed soldiers didn't linger in Sunsword County. That very afternoon, they set out with Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi in custody, heading toward the Dragon God City. Their treatment was hardly generous. Both were bound to horses, reins held by Vast Cloud himself. Dust rose in clouds as the group departed. With your strength, I doubt you really fear them, Wu Zhaodi said, tied up across from him on another horse. I'm not afraid, Su Zimo replied calmly. I just happen to want to meet some old friends. There are people you know in the Dragon God Imperium? Wu Zhaodi asked in surprise. You'll find out when we get there, he said. You've been acting mysterious all day, she muttered under her breath. If I'm the mysterious one, Su Zimo said, then what about someone who doesn't even dare speak her own identity? There's no point hiding it. You've probably already guessed, Wu Zhaodi said quietly. You're from the celestial Luan God realm? Su Zimo asked. That's my home, she replied after a long silence. My mother was the realm lord. Let me guess, Su Zimo said, half amused. Your mother was betrayed by someone she trusted, and you escaped from the place with blood vengeance in your heart? Her eyes widened. How did you know that? I've seen this story 100 times, Su Zimo said, shaking his head. In this world, the only feud that endures is one written in blood. My mother showed kindness to that person, Wu Zhaodi said, her voice trembling slightly. But he repaid grace with betrayal, joined hands with others to destroy her. Her eyes reddened, the pain still raw. What's the level of strength in your celestial Luan god realm? Su Zimo asked. Saint Sovereign, I think. But I'm not sure, she said. My mother told me once that the oldest ancestor of the palace entered closed-door death meditation thousands of years ago. No news since then. Most believe he's long gone. With your current god meridian cultivation, revenge will be difficult, Su Zimo said. It wasn't meant to mock her. Above the god meridian realm lay the 5 stages of the Grand Emperor. Even for a prodigy like him, reaching that height required years of grinding. For someone like Wu Zhaodi, the road was far longer, and by the time she reached it, who knew what would have changed in her sect? So what? Wu Zhaodi said firmly. As long as I still breathe, I'll never give up. Su Zimo didn't argue. Hatred had a way of keeping people alive. Their warhorses thundered along the official road for a full day and night without rest. It was clear that Vast Cloud, having completed his mission, wanted to return to the capital as quickly as possible. Despite their speed, the ride was surprisingly steady. Su Zimo took the opportunity to close his eyes, his consciousness sinking into the god world. He appeared once more before the massive tree at the border between the World Tree and the Death Flower. Such a unique tree had likely never existed before, so Su Zimo gave it a name. The Tree of Life and Death. The name was simple, maybe even plain, but it fit perfectly. Sitting before it, he could feel the mysterious aura surrounding the tree growing stronger by the moment. His understanding of the life-death stage deepened with it. The barrier to that realm was now as thin as paper. He could almost pierce it with a single breath. Life and death energies swirled through the air. Su Zimo sat cross-legged, solemn and focused. Over time, it felt as though he was merging with the heavens and earth themselves. The life-death stage could only be glimpsed through the balance of the two. To see one part was to understand the whole. Spirit energy circulated through his meridians and chakra gates. Major and minor cycles of energy intertwined, the sign of one entering the 4th stage of the Grand Emperor stage. His aura began to shift strangely. Vibrant with life one moment, heavy with decay the next. He hovered between life and death, walking the razor's edge. Then, in a single instant, something broke, like a shackle snapping inside him. A deep boom resounded within his body, followed by a surge of overwhelming power. The energies of life and death intertwined like a cosmic yin-yang, spiraling upward into the heavens. Life and death, the truth of heaven and earth, Su Zimo whispered. He was now just one step from becoming a sovereign lord. The energy within him grew wilder with each rotation, roaring like an ocean storm. If one looked closely, they'd see his bones had turned colorless, his blood translucent, like liquid chaos. Colorless, the hue of the primordial void. The primordial chaos was formless and colorless, the essence of all creation. Every true cultivator at their end would return to that beginning. Su Zimo slowly opened his eyes. One eye radiated life, the other, death. It was a strange, almost divine feeling. He could now faintly perceive the life and death lines of every creature around him. Standing from beneath the tree of life and death, Su Zimo exhaled deeply. In an instant, his aura vanished, hidden entirely. To an ordinary eye, he appeared no different from a mortal. Even a stronger cultivator might not see through him now. His Tao had already surpassed mere comprehension. His understanding of primal Taos had deepened again, the difference like a stream turning into a river. By my estimate, we should be close to the Dragon God City, Su Zimo thought aloud. Having stepped into the life-death stage, he withdrew his consciousness from the god world, returning to the real world. On horseback, Wu Zhaodi had been making faces at him while he slept. Su Zimo suddenly opened his eyes, startling her. "What are you doing?" he asked. Someone sure sleeps soundly, she said, rolling her eyes, not the least bit worried about his situation. I'm fine, Suzimo said casually, smiling. I don't have any enemies here anyway. But you, aren't you afraid of being recognized? What's there to be afraid of? Wu Zhaodi replied, though her tone was uneasy. Either way, it's death. But your revenge isn't done yet, is it? Suzimo asked. Seriously? You're just going to let yourself be captured like this? Wu Zhaodi said incredulously. If you want to escape, I can help you, Suzimo replied. But me, I actually want to meet this Dragon God Imperium's ruler. Who said anything about running? Fine, we'll meet him. He's only the ruler of the Dragon God Imperium, Wu Zhaodi said stiffly, trying to sound confident. Relax, Suzimo chuckled. With me here, nothing will happen to you. The group followed the official road forward. By late afternoon, the sky was dimming, and a strange wind began to stir on the horizon. That wind carried sand and dust with it. Why is it getting darker? One of the blue-robed soldiers muttered. Yeah, there was sunlight just a moment ago. Several of them murmured in confusion. Vast Cloud frowned, raised a hand, and ordered, Stop! What is it, Grand Tutor? Someone asked. Don't you notice something's wrong? Vast Cloud said. What's wrong? The sky, he said, glancing upward, then fell into thought. It's a formation, Suzimo quietly told Wu Zhaodi beside him. The formation was extremely subtle, blended seamlessly with the world around them. Of course, Suzimo's perception immediately picked it up. In fact, they'd already been trapped within it for some time without realizing. If we keep following this road, we should reach Dragon God City, right? Vast Cloud asked one of his men. Yes, sir. The man nodded. Then keep moving, Vast Cloud ordered. But this time, he no longer rode carelessly forward. Instead, he slowed down, studying the landscape around them as they went. Something's wrong, he said again after a while, halting everyone once more. We've been walking in circles. Haven't any of you noticed? Realization dawned on several faces. Vast Cloud's sharp eyes swept the surroundings as he called out loudly, Whoever is hiding here, show yourself. His voice echoed through the empty air, but no reply came. Looks like they just want to trap us, one of the blue-robed soldiers muttered. Then we'll break the formation, Vast Cloud snapped coldly. A powerful aura erupted from his body, the aura of an immortal monarch. So that was his true strength. It made sense. If someone like Wu Zhaodi with her God Meridian cultivation could be captured, their captor had to be on another level entirely. Immortal power swept through the air, manifesting as countless blades of wind. His mastery lay in the nomological truth of wind. The storm raging around them became his weapon, the sands whirling faster and faster around his body. Tempest rend, Vast Cloud shouted. With a wave of his right hand, violent gusts tore through the heavens, uprooting trees in their path. The warhorses panicked, crouching low against the ground, their eyes stung by the sandstorm. The violent gales converged on a single point, ripping at the very fabric of space. Break! Vast Cloud roared again. The void trembled, fissures forming in midair as space itself cracked open. Just then, a long sword of ice materialized from afar and slashed toward him. I knew you wouldn't just stand by and let me destroy your formation, Vast Cloud sneered. He swung his left hand, a palm strike so fierce that the air shattered layer by layer. People of the vast Heaven Imperium, so sneaky and cowardly, Vast Cloud mocked. Like rats hiding in the dark. Well now, Grand Tutor, what a temper. A laughing voice answered from the void. A moment later, a short old man, barely 1.5 meters tall, stepped out from the air. Dark Monarch, it's you, Vast Cloud said sharply. When did you start working for the vast Heaven Imperium? And how do you know I'm here on their behalf? The small old man chuckled. Who else but the vast Heaven Imperium would dare fight our Dragon God Imperium for a legacy? Clever, Dark Monarch said, still smiling. I didn't want to be your enemy, but their offer was too good to refuse. Dismiss the formation and let us go, Vast Cloud said coldly. Do that, and I'll forget this ever happened. No can do, Dark Monarch said with an amused shake of his head. The vast Heaven Imperium's people will be here soon. My job is to keep you busy until then. And since I've taken their money, I have to show some professional integrity. Enough talk, Vast Cloud snapped. Wind howled around him again as he took to the air, light and graceful like a soaring wild goose. Wind, gentle enough to carry, fierce enough to destroy. Countless blades of gale force energy formed and shot toward Dark Monarch. But the old man's figure flickered, and in the next instant, he reappeared elsewhere entirely. Pointless, Grand Tutor, Dark Monarch said with a grin. Outside this formation, maybe you'd have a chance. But in here, what can you do to me? Vast Cloud's frown deepened. The storm around him grew more violent, sand and wind tearing through space itself. But all of it was useless. Unless one found the formation's core, two evenly matched powers could battle endlessly without breaking it. Save your strength, Dark Monarch said mockingly. You'll need it when the vast Heaven Imperium's forces arrive. Dark Monarch, you think the vast Heaven Imperium has backup, but you think the Dragon God Imperium doesn't? Vast Cloud suddenly said, smiling now instead of scowling. What do you mean? Dark Monarch asked warily. Trying to scare me? By my count, Vast Cloud murmured, glancing upward. It should be about time. Time for what? Dark Monarch demanded. But before he could react, the world itself began to shake. The ground trembled. The sky spun. Dark Monarch's expression changed drastically. Someone outside was attacking the formation. Before he could even respond, there was a thunderous boom. A massive explosion tore open the sky, punching a hole straight through the barrier. Dark Monarch turned pale as a black-robed figure stepped through the rift. It was a young man, pale-faced, with two sharp horns jutting from his head. His lips and eyes were dark purple, his hair a deep, fiery red. He exuded an air of unrestrained arrogance, wild and flamboyant. The Dragon God Imperium's Grand Chancellor, Demon Minister Wei? Dark Monarch asked uncertainly. Well, the newcomer said with a broad grin. Didn't know I was so famous. He held a thin stick, almost like a toothpick, idly picking his teeth as he spoke, completely indifferent. You've got guts, he said, smirking, making me come out here in person. Do you have any idea what that means for you? When Dark Monarch heard Demon Minister Wei speak, terror seized him. He didn't even dare to reply. He had never expected that the Dragon God Imperium had prepared a hidden trump card, let alone that they had sent him. No one even remembered Demon Minister Wei's full name anymore. It wasn't out of disrespect. It was simply because his demonic, wicked way of doing things was so infamous that everyone had long since accepted that title as his name. Although he served as the Grand Chancellor of the Dragon God Imperium, he didn't follow anyone's orders. In truth, he was a member of the ancient demon race who merely carried the title of an imperial official. Lord Wei, I didn't know you'd be here, Dark Monarch stammered, trying to explain himself. At this point, all he could do was stall for time and hope that reinforcements from the vast Heaven Imperium would arrive soon. The hell? Senior? You look older than me, Wei said with a cold grin. Yes. The wise are always first, seniority by virtue, Dark Monarch said quickly, not daring to act proud. Virtue my ass, Wei sneered. Stop waiting for the vast Heaven Imperium's people. They won't be coming. I just happened to run into them on my way here. As he spoke, he casually pulled several severed heads from somewhere and tossed them toward Dark Monarch. Dark Monarch recoiled, too afraid to touch them. But even a glance told him enough. Among them were the heads of General Soaring Cloud of the vast Heaven Imperium and his deputy. You killed them all? Dark Monarch stuttered. I came all this way, thought I'd bring you a gift, Wei said with a crooked smile. Do you like it? Senior, I was wrong. I shouldn't have gotten involved. Dark Monarch dropped to his knees, begging for mercy. Now that the vast Heaven Imperium's reinforcements were all dead, he had no fight left in him. Survival was all that mattered. There's no need to beg, Wei said calmly, because I'm not going to let you live. Please, give me one more chance. I'll serve you loyally. Do whatever you command. Dark Monarch pleaded. You're not qualified, Wei said, shaking his head. Desperation flared in Dark Monarch's eyes. He suddenly turned, moving with explosive speed towards Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi, who were still bound to the horses. He was so fast that Vast Cloud and the others barely had time to react. A sword of ice formed in Dark Monarch's hand, and in an instant, it was pressed against Su Zimo's throat. Wei didn't move. He simply watched, unconcerned, as though curious how this would play out. Let me go, Dark Monarch shouted, or I'll kill him. Without him, you'll never get the inheritance. You want to kill him? Then do it, Wei said with mockery. Why waste breath? Do you really want mutual destruction? Dark Monarch asked hesitantly. Go ahead, Wei said with a grin. Kill him. I'd like to see you try. You think I won't? Dark Monarch roared, stabbing the icy blade towards Su Zimo's throat. But in that very instant, his entire body froze in place. Dark demonic energy erupted from the ground, countless tendrils of black mist that coiled around Dark Monarch's arms, legs, neck, and waist like living ropes, binding him tight. The other ends of those tendrils sank deep into the earth. Dark Monarch couldn't move. He could only struggle helplessly. Demon Minister Wei descended slowly from the air, taking unhurried steps toward him. Release me, Dark Monarch screamed. Wei extended his right hand and clenched his fist. The demonic energy responded instantly, tightening its grip. Dark Monarch's screams echoed through the air as the tendrils pulled harder and harder, until his body was torn apart limb by limb. Greetings, Grand Chancellor. Vast Cloud and the others stepped forward to bow respectfully. Strictly speaking, as Grand Tutor, Vast Cloud's position was not beneath Wei's. But he knew better than to measure this man by rank. Besides, Wei had saved them. Courtesy was the least he could offer. Wei waved dismissively, then turned to inspect Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi closely. These two are the ones who took the inheritance? The tomb vanished, and they were the only ones who came out alive, Vast Cloud replied. It must be them. Where's the inheritance? Wei asked, eyes narrowing at Su Zimo. To which infernal archon do you report? Su Zimo asked in return. To Celestial Devourer, or to Hellfire Azura? Oh, Wei raised an eyebrow. So you know something of our ancient demon race? Not much, Su Zimo said quietly. It's just been a long time since I've been home. Wei frowned slightly. There was something odd in that remark, something he couldn't quite place. Enough of your nonsense, boy. You're a prisoner now, nothing more, Wei said, flicking his hand. Watch them both carefully, he ordered his men. Escort them to the capital. If you get the chance, Su Zimo said evenly, send word to your two infernal archons. Tell them I've returned. Let them come and see me. Watch your tone, Wei snapped. If the inheritance weren't valuable, I'd have torn you to shreds already for talking like that. Don't be rash, Chancellor, Vast Cloud interjected quickly. The dragon god Saint Sovereign himself is very interested in this inheritance. Wei gave a cold laugh. I'll leave it to you then. Bring them to the capital safely. There won't be any more danger on the way. With that, demonic energy began swirling around him. His form blurred, and then vanished completely into the void. He certainly has that demonic arrogance about him, Su Zimo said with a faint smile. You're bold to talk like that, Vast Cloud said sharply. If you offend him, boy, you won't have enough lives to die with. Just hand over the inheritance, and I'll let you both go. You can still flee and live. I don't have any inheritance, Su Zimo said helplessly again. Do you know why I'm really taking you to the Dragon God City? Vast Cloud said. Enlighten me, Su Zimo replied. Beneath the Dragon God Saint Sovereign, there are many extraordinary people, Vast Cloud explained. In the capital lives a diviner, the sovereign's own teacher. Everyone calls him the imperial sage. He can extract memories straight from your mind. Even if you don't talk, he'll find out everything. We're still some distance from the capital. Before we arrive, you still have a choice to make. Think carefully. With that, Vast Cloud turned and walked away. In truth, his motives weren't pure. If he could get the inheritance for himself, the glory would be his alone. But if they reached the capital empty-handed, he might instead be blamed for failure. Did you actually get the inheritance? Wu Zhaodi asked once Vast Cloud was gone. After all, she'd left early. Su Zimo was the one who went after the Dragon Monarch. You still don't see? Su Zimo said. The inheritance was just a ruse. The Dragon Monarch wanted someone to escort it back to the Azure Mystic Heaven. Then why is the Dragon God Imperium so desperate to find it? Wu Zhaodi mused. Who knows? Su Zimo said with a grin. You can ask the Dragon God Saint Sovereign yourself when you meet him. You have a grudge against the Dragon God Imperium? She asked. Su Zimo shook his head. Then it must be the ancient demon race you hate, Wu Zhaodi said firmly. Otherwise, why would you care so much about matters of the ancient demon race? It's not hatred, Su Zimo said with a faint smile. There are just some things I want to ask about face to face. You're a mysterious one, aren't you? Wu Zhaodi said. But let's make this clear in advance. Once we reach the capital, you'll have to make sure I'm safe. With my level of strength, there are countless people there who could crush me. Don't worry, Su Zimo said lightly. After several days of travel, at last, on the morning of the 7th day, their group arrived at the so-called Dragon God City, what the locals called the imperial capital. Now, the two of you no longer have a choice, Vast Cloud said, stepping forward. Follow me into the city. Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi were taken down from their tied horses and made to walk into Dragon God City. The city's architecture was strange, unlike most great cities, which spread outward in vast, sprawling breadth. Dragon God City was built upward, its fame rooted in its height. The empire's territory wasn't especially large, but the city rose straight toward the heavens like a colossal spire that pierced the clouds. Majestic and towering. They say the Dragon God City is 80 million meters tall, Wu Zhaodi said as she looked up. From the top of its tower, you can see the entire empire. She's right, Vast Cloud said proudly. Dragon God City is renowned for its height. Throughout the entire God-fiend Abyss Heaven, there's no other like it. What's the point of building something so tall? Su Zimo said. If war breaks out, wouldn't it be easy to destroy? Who would dare destroy our Dragon God City? Vast Cloud shot back. The Dragon God Imperium was one of the great nations, perhaps not the very strongest in the God-fiend Abyss Heaven, but certainly among the most powerful. If I'm in a bad mood, Su Zimo said calmly, I'll tear it down myself. Vast Cloud stared at him as though he'd just heard the funniest thing in the world. The blue-robed guards nearby burst out laughing as well. To them, Su Zimo's words were pure madness. You've got the biggest mouth of anyone I've ever met, Vast Cloud said. But ignorance breeds fearlessness, so I won't hold it against you. You'd best worry about surviving your current situation. He waved his hand. Move out. Under the watch of 2 gate guards, the group marched into the city in formation. Once inside, Su Zimo noticed 2 massive dragon statues standing in the center of the main avenue. One a 5-clawed purple dragon, the other black. Does your Dragon God Imperium have ties to the dragon race? Su Zimo asked curiously. Vast Cloud hesitated but finally answered. The founding emperor had old ties with the dragon race. No wonder you put 2 dragons here, Su Zimo said with a nod. As they proceeded, a man in armor approached to greet them. He was tall and broad-shouldered, walking with the powerful gait of a tiger or dragon, exuding an air of strength and command. His armor clattered with every step, its crisp metallic ring announcing his presence before he even arrived. General Fong, Vast Cloud said warmly. Safe journey? The general asked with a hearty laugh. With Lord Wei escorting us, who would dare attack? Vast Cloud replied. That vast heaven imperium is getting more and more outrageous, General Fong said gruffly. The rule was clear: whichever land the inheritance appears in, it belongs to that nation. Yet they dared come steal it in broad daylight. If you ask me, His Majesty the Dragon God Saint Sovereign is too lenient. Otherwise, we would have destroyed them long ago. Vast Cloud silently thought to himself, a fool who only knows how to fight. The general was a man of the battlefield, not of patience or strategy, destined to be just a warrior, nothing more. To be a ruler, one must be ruthless, Vast Cloud said with a smile. No king ever rose to power without blood on his hands. Don't worry, General Fong. When the time for war comes, there'll be use for your sword yet. My bones have been itching for a fight, General Fong said eagerly. How about a little sparring, Grand Tutor? Spare me, Vast Cloud said quickly. If you want to fight, go find Lord Wei. I'm not sparring with that madman, Fong said flatly. Come on, His Majesty is waiting for you at the 100 Dynasties altar. I'll lead the way. Appreciate it, General, Vast Cloud said politely. The group then began their ascent through the city. The 100 Dynasties altar was located on the 700th floor, a symbolic height representing 100 nations paying homage, a vision of imperial dominion. The structure spiraled upward, layer upon layer, like a coiled serpent reaching the heavens. Though 700 floors sounded high, the group's cultivation made it trivial. They leapt dozens of floors in a single bound. Within a minute, they reached the 690th floor, then climbed the stairs to the 700th. Su Zimo looked up. Before him stood a grand tower hall. At its summit rested a dragon throne, where a man in dragon robes reclined casually. Below him stood rows of officials in formal order, and beside the throne stood Demon Minister Wei. Before them was a long table laden with fine fruits and delicacies. Your Majesty, we've located the ones connected to the inheritance, Vast Cloud said respectfully as he approached. Bring them forward, the man in dragon robes said with a slight nod. Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi were led up to the front. Bold, barked an attendant nearby. In the presence of His Majesty, how dare you not kneel? This heaven and earth aren't worthy of my kneeling, Su Zimo said calmly. You think your emperor outranks the heavens themselves? The attendant snorted angrily, spirit energy surging around his arm. He formed it into a long staff and swung it down toward Su Zimo's legs. Su Zimo frowned slightly. This man had quite the temper, striking out over a few words. He raised his right hand and gave a light wave. Before the staff even touched him, a sharp smack rang out, a slap echoing through the hall. The attendant was sent flying, the speed so fast he didn't even have time to react. Demon Minister Wei's eyes gleamed with interest, but he made no move to intervene. He seemed rather entertained. A dog of a man, daring to bark in my presence? Su Zimo said coolly, glancing in his direction. Then he stepped forward, one slow step at a time, until he sat down on the table directly in front of the throne. Casually, he picked up a cluster of grapes and began to eat. Let's make this short, he said evenly. I didn't take the inheritance. That tomb was just a trap. And even if I did have it, I wouldn't give it to you. Understand? To speak so boldly before me, said the dragon god Saint Sovereign, smiling faintly. You're not without courage, but everything has its limits. Oh? You want me to kick your ass? Su Zimo said, his expression calm. Infernal energy began to surge around him, pure, dense, and overwhelming. It floated and coiled through the air, rising higher and higher until it seemed to pierce the heavens themselves. You're from the ancient demon race? The dragon god Saint Sovereign's expression changed slightly as he spoke. As he said this, he glanced at Demon Minister Wei behind him, wanting to see if the two of them were acquainted. The ancient demon race was a forbidden subject in everyone's minds, something people avoided mentioning, and even if brought up, they would often gloss over it quickly. I don't know him, Demon Minister Wei said with a slight shake of his head. If you're truly one of the ancient demon race, then you should recognize me. Oh? Are you that famous? Suzimo said with a faint smile. Can't say I've ever heard of you. Which demon's domain do you belong to? Demon Minister Wei frowned and asked. I don't think any demon dares claim dominion over me, Suzimo replied with a hint of amusement. No matter who he is, capture him first. If something happens, I'll take responsibility, Demon Minister Wei said flatly. Within the ancient demon race, his status was already considerable, so he feared no one from the other factions. Moreover, Suzimo's mysterious identity had piqued his curiosity. He wanted to find out who this man truly was. I'm afraid you couldn't afford the responsibility, Suzimo said with a smile. I remember I told you before, you're not qualified to speak to me. Tell Celestial Devourer and Hellfire Azura to come see me instead. How arrogant. Capture him. Demon Minister Wei snorted coldly. Just as the tension reached its peak, a guard suddenly rushed in to report. Your Majesty, the Grand Elder of the Vast Heaven God Realm has arrived. Vast Heaven God Realm? Both Suzimo and the Dragon God Saint Sovereign muttered the name to themselves. The Dragon God Saint Sovereign was surprised because he couldn't understand why the Vast Heaven God Realm had come so suddenly. Suzimo, on the other hand, was surprised for a different reason. Back on the primordial heartlands, the heaven-shattering God scripture he practiced had been taught to him by the Heaven's Equal Emperor. He had once promised to deliver the heaven-shattering token to a man named Chi-Hauran of the Vast Heaven God Realm. Although much time had passed and he hadn't gone out of his way to find the sect, hearing that name again made him unable to ignore it. Still, he had to confirm whether this Vast Heaven God Realm was the same one he was thinking of. The Dragon God Saint Sovereign looked at Suzimo with a hint of irritation, then asked, What does the Vast Heaven God Realm want? They say they've come for the sake of the Vast Heaven Imperium, the guard replied. You just returned and they arrive right after, one thing after another. Quite the scheme. The Dragon God Saint Sovereign sneered. No need to think too hard about it. They've come for someone. Your Majesty, the Vast Heaven God Realm is the #1 sect in our southern region. It's unwise to make them our enemy, one of the ministers advised. Tell them to wait, the Dragon God Saint Sovereign said with a wave of his hand. Then he turned to Suzimo and said, I'll be direct. I have a beloved consort who's gravely ill. I've searched tirelessly for a cure, but the final ingredient, dragon beach grass, has eluded me. That's why I value the inheritance so much. You can keep your inheritance. Just give me the dragon beach grass and name your price. Do you people not understand plain speech? Suzimo shook his head. Without the inheritance, there's nothing to discuss. I won't repeat myself. The Dragon God Saint Sovereign said nothing further. He simply tapped his right hand lightly on the table before him. Those nearby seemed to sense something, for Demon Minister Wei immediately struck, his demonic palm lashing out towards Suzimo. Suzimo met it head-on with a palm strike of his own. When the two palms collided, there was a resounding boom. Suzimo stood unmoved, while Demon Minister Wei staggered back several steps. Dark demonic energy surged around both of them, but upon closer inspection, Suzimo's aura was far deeper, purer and darker, as if it carried the natural authority of a king. Even among demons, there were vast differences in the nature of their demonic energy. Demon Minister Wei, however, showed no fear. The power around him continued to swell, climbing steadily until it reached the Grand Emperor realm, and then the peak of the Sovereign Lord stage, only one step away from the Saint Sovereign realm, before finally stopping. Within the entire ancient demon race, among the younger generation, fewer than 10 can rival me, Demon Minister Wei said with a grin. You've managed to pique my interest. He didn't just stand his ground. His eyes gleamed with fighting spirit. Have you ever been defeated? Suzimo asked calmly. Among my peers, no one has ever beaten me. Demon Minister Wei replied proudly. Pride is fine, Suzimo said, shaking his head. But arrogance will get you killed. He slowly drew his weapon, Shadow Tyrant. As the blade emerged, sword intent surged, and demonic energy rippled violently along the edge. Slash! Suzimo shouted softly. Shadow Tyrant cut through the silent city like lightning, its blade intent splitting the void itself. Demon Minister Wei did not underestimate the strike. Demonic energy flooded from his body, condensing into a black demonic cloud before him. From within it, he drew out a serrated long blade. This was no ordinary weapon. The middle of the blade was hollow, lined with jagged teeth. When Su Zimo's blade came down, Demon Minister Wei shifted slightly, catching the edge within the blade's teeth and twisting sharply. Infernal martial world! Demon Minister Wei roared. From the serrated blade burst waves of cutting force that coalesced in the air above them, taking the form of a demonic beast forged entirely of blade intent. When one's weapon will reaches this level, it gains a spirit, and that spirit can take the form of man, beast, or plant. The blade beast roared, its very presence razor-sharp. Even glancing at it made one's eyes sting. But it wasn't over yet. Demon Minister Wei's demonic energy merged with the beast, amplifying its strength even further. Meteoric starburst! He shouted as demonic energy condensed into a massive meteor within the blade beast's maw, which it hurled downward with earth-shaking force. As the meteor fell, Su Zimo snorted coldly. Billions of heaven-shattering power vortexes within him roared to life, and the colossal heaven-shattering giant manifested behind him, bellowing toward the heavens. As the meteor plummeted, Su Zimo stepped forward, catching it in both hands. Then, muscles taut and eyes blazing, he lifted it high overhead and hurled it back toward Demon Minister Wei. Demon Minister Wei waved his hand, and the blade beast above him slashed twice. The meteor shattered like paper, torn cleanly in half. Impressive blade beast, Su Zimo remarked. Infernal dust lock! Demon Minister Wei shouted again. Boundless demonic energy surged outward, and within it came the sound of chains clashing. At the end of each chain was a square-shaped lock, radiating an ancient sealing aura. Demon Minister Wei's garments tore apart as the chains emerged from his body, all of them lashing toward Su Zimo. This power is designed specifically to restrain ancient demons, Demon Minister Wei said proudly. Let's see how you break free. You people have really regressed over the years, Su Zimo said, shaking his head. Instead of seeking true strength, you waste your time creating powers meant to counter your own kind. Seems some among you have already been corrupted. Enough talk, Demon Minister Wei bellowed. Lock and bind. As the chains shot toward him from every direction, Su Zimo showed no sign of panic. He slowly raised his right hand, and one of the 10 primordial God scriptures, the creation-devouring Godfinger, appeared. The power of creation, might to devour the heavens. A streak of light shimmered at his fingertip, gleaming with endless brilliance and divine refinement. Before the finger even struck, the surrounding void had already begun to collapse. It was as if the eyes of the entire world focused on that one finger. Spirit energy from all directions surged toward it. Any chain that came near was instantly obliterated, erased into nothingness. At the very tip of his finger, a shadowy black hole began to form, boundless, deep, and capable of swallowing everything. Demon Minister Wei's face changed drastically. The chains around him quickly intertwined, forming the shape of a massive shield. Then his figure blurred as he leapt backward, retreating with all his might. But no matter how fast he moved, how could he possibly outrun the heaven-devouring power of creation? The light at Su Zimo's fingertip shot forward faster than sight itself, piercing through the chain shield and striking Demon Minister Wei right in the forehead. A bloody hole appeared, and his body stiffened before collapsing lifelessly to the ground. But the next instant, his god soul roared in defiance, struggling to escape, only to find itself still suppressed beneath the heaven-devouring power. What are you idiots staring at? Help me! Demon Minister Wei's voice echoed from within the collapsing aura. Only then did the others of the Dragon God Imperium snap out of their shock. But before anyone could move, the Dragon God Saint Sovereign struck first. With a wave of his right hand, all the fruits and delicacies on the table floated into the air, then shot toward Su Zimo like a storm of light. Even something as small as a grape radiated immense, world-shaking power. Oh, you are a true Saint Sovereign, Su Zimo looked at him with newfound respect. Only a supreme giant, the dragon god Saint Sovereign said with a humble smile. The path of a saint sovereign is like the far shore, distant and unreachable. We fools can only chase it with all we have. Though he spoke modestly, even attaining the first stage of the saint sovereign realm was no small feat. The grapes, infused with immense energy, instantly enveloped Su Zimo. I have no desire to fight, said the dragon god Saint Sovereign, still smiling. Please, do not make things difficult for my subjects. He waved his hand again, and a dragon's roar echoed faintly through the air. The heaven-devouring power around Su Zimo was dispersed in an instant. Demon Minister Wei's god soul broke free as well, floating into the air to begin reconstituting a new body. At their level, the physical body was merely a vessel. The true essence lay in the god soul, which communed directly with the laws of heaven and earth. Su Zimo made no move to stop him, instead observing the dragon god, Saint Sovereign, with a curious smile. The man was clearly far more formidable than he appeared. You truly don't have the dragon beach grass, then? The dragon god Saint Sovereign asked with an easy laugh. In that case, I'll seek it elsewhere. Bring in the grand elder of the vast heaven god realm. No one dared make another move against Su Zimo. After all, even Demon Minister Wei had fallen to him. Grand Tutor Vast Cloud, standing to the side, secretly sighed in relief. Thankfully, he had never pissed off Su Zimo. Watching as Demon Minister Wei's new body slowly formed, Su Zimo asked, "Where's the ancient demon race's base of power these days? If you have the ability, find it yourself." Demon Minister Wei replied. "I will," Su Zimo said calmly. "But tell your two patriarchs what I said before remains the same. If there's to be a meeting, they will come to me, I will not go to them." "What message do you want me to deliver?" Demon Minister Wei asked, his tone now far more cautious. "Tell them this," Su Zimo said, enunciating each word clearly. "After the heavenly war, their lord has returned. Whatever grudges remain, and whatever unfinished visions, they will all continue." "Fine. I'll make sure they hear it," Demon Minister Wei said after a brief silence. "I may stay with the vast heaven god realm for a while," Su Zimo added. "If they wish to see me, they can find me there." Demon Minister Wei said nothing further, though his face betrayed his irritation at Su Zimo's arrogance. Footsteps echoed from the staircase beyond. Everyone turned their gaze toward the sound. Led by several guards, an elderly man wearing a robe embroidered with the twin symbols of Yin and Yang approached with a genial smile. His robe swayed gently with the breeze as he walked. "Greetings, Your Majesty the Dragon God Saint Sovereign," the old man said, bowing slightly in courtesy. Normally, anyone meeting the Dragon God Saint Sovereign would kneel in full respect. But given the vast heaven god realm's exalted status, the Dragon God Saint Sovereign didn't press the matter. "Elder Bai, what brings you to my Dragon God Imperium?" The Dragon God Saint Sovereign asked in a calm, measured tone. "I heard there's been conflict between the vast heaven Imperium and your Dragon God Imperium," Elder Bai said with a smile. "I've come to mediate." "Prepare a seat for Elder Bai," the Dragon God Saint Sovereign ordered with a wave, unwilling to show even the slightest discourtesy. "Conflict? Is that so? I hadn't heard of any," the Dragon God Saint Sovereign said in apparent surprise. He turned to his ministers. "Who among you has been fighting the vast heaven Imperium?" "Your Majesty, none of us," one of the officials quickly replied. "For years, our relations with the vast heaven Imperium have been friendly. Trade flows freely, and there are even marriages between our people. We're practically one family now. How could there be conflict?" "Is that so?" the Dragon God Saint Sovereign said, nodding with satisfaction. "You hear that, Elder Bai? Where did this rumor of yours come from?" As the two continued to probe each other's intentions, Su Zimo sat nearby, bored, and turned to Wu Zhaodi. "What's the story with this vast heaven god realm?" he asked. "The powers of the southern region are easy to classify," she explained. "The Dragon God Imperium, the Vast Heaven Imperium, the God Beast Imperium, and the Celestial Yuan God Realm are all on roughly the same level. But the vast heaven god realm was once no different from them. It's just that, in the past 1,000,000 years, the sect produced two saint sovereigns. Together with their original saint sovereign, they now have at least 3 within their ranks. Their power has grown so much that they're now considered the #1 sect in the southern region of Godfiend Abyss Heaven. Su Zimo nodded slightly. I've also heard, Wu Zhaodi continued, that a few centuries ago, the vast heaven god realm received a decree from the ancient demon race, granting them authority over the entire southern region. So, on the surface, even nations like the Dragon God Imperium must operate under their influence to some extent. How much do you know about the sect? Su Zimo asked. Why? Wu Zhaodi replied curiously. Have you ever heard of someone named Qi Haoran? Su Zimo asked. You mean the primordial sword, Qi Haoran? Wu Zhaodi said, eyes widening in surprise. Of course. Who in the southern region hasn't heard of him? He's from the vast heaven god realm? Su Zimo asked. Of course. The sect wouldn't be what it is today without him. He's responsible for at least half of its rise. His story's a long one, she added. I'll tell you about it when we have more time. Su Zimo nodded and focused again on Elder Bai and the Dragon God Saint Sovereign's conversation. Your Majesty, it seems you're unaware, Elder Bai said. The vast Heaven Imperium's general has been killed. Oh? Is that so? The Dragon God Saint Sovereign said in mild surprise. Who killed him? Would I have come here otherwise, Your Majesty? Elder Bai replied with a knowing smile. Elder Bai, that's a baseless accusation, the Dragon God Saint Sovereign said, shaking his head with a faint laugh. Do you have any proof? Just because someone from the vast Heaven Imperium was killed, you pin it on us? Your Majesty, you know as well as I do that denying it is pointless, Elder Bai said evenly. If this truly escalates, your people might kill those of the vast Heaven Imperium, but the vast Heaven Imperium could just as easily retaliate. That would only lead to war. Then what exactly is your purpose here, Elder Bai? The Dragon God Saint Sovereign asked. I've come for the 2 inheritors, Elder Bai said plainly. You intend to take them to the vast Heaven Imperium? The Dragon God Saint Sovereign frowned. I'm taking them back to the vast Heaven God realm, Elder Bai explained. Once the investigation is complete, the matter of the inheritance will be returned to your Dragon God Imperium. As for the vast Heaven Imperium's slain general, your empire will need to offer compensation. How that's arranged is up to you 2 nations. I merely don't wish to see relations ruined over a single inheritance. Hearing this, the Dragon God Saint Sovereign fell silent, lost in thought. Under normal circumstances, he would never have agreed. But Su Zimo was clearly no ordinary man, a hard bone to chew. Refusing Elder Bai would offend the vast Heaven God realm for no gain, and even if he wanted to act against Su Zimo, he couldn't overpower him anyway. After a brief pause, the Dragon God Saint Sovereign smiled. Since Elder Bai has spoken, I must give you this courtesy. Take the 2 of them. Handle the matter however you see fit. Elder Bai gave him a surprised look. He had expected resistance. After all, between the 2 rulers, the Emperor of the vast Heaven Imperium was known as a wise sovereign, and the Dragon God Saint Sovereign of the Dragon God Imperium was a ruthless conqueror who rarely compromised. Your Majesty is truly magnanimous, Elder Bai said with a smile. Then I'll take my leave and trouble you no further. Stay a while longer, Elder Bai. I've already ordered a feast prepared, the Dragon God Saint Sovereign said, more out of formality than sincerity. No need to trouble yourself. When you visit the vast Heaven God realm someday, I'll make sure to return the courtesy, Elder Bai said with a polite laugh. Come with me, he said, glancing at Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi. As Elder Bai's figure turned to leave, Wu Zhaodi looked at Su Zimo and asked softly, You have acquaintances in the vast Heaven God realm, don't you? I know them, Su Zimo said with a small smile. They just don't realize they should know me. Before departing, Su Zimo turned to Demon Minister Wei and said, Remember what I told you. Even after Su Zimo and the others had disappeared from sight, one of the ministers muttered indignantly, Those 2 are far too arrogant, acting as though our Dragon God Imperium means nothing. They deserve to be taught a lesson. Why didn't you say that earlier when they were here? The dragon god Saint Sovereign said coldly, glaring at him. The minister gave an awkward laugh. He was only venting. In truth, he didn't have the power to do anything. They're from the ancient demon race, aren't they? The dragon god Saint Sovereign asked, turning to Demon Minister Wei. Yes, from the ancient demon race. Demon Minister Wei nodded firmly. Though it seems, not from the god-fiend Abyss Heaven. What other demons exist besides those from your domain? The dragon god Saint Sovereign asked skeptically. True enough, Demon Minister Wei said with a short laugh. But then his smile froze as a thought struck him. If not from the god-fiend Abyss Heaven, then the only other possibility was the ancient demon Abyss, the true origin of the ancient demon race itself. No, impossible, he muttered, shaking his head rapidly, as though trying to drive away the thought. But then Su Zimo's words came back to him. After the war against heaven, your king has returned. A chill ran down his spine. His thoughts wavered between denial and dread. Your Majesty, shall we investigate their origins? Vast Cloud asked from the side. Yes, the dragon god Saint Sovereign said sharply, slamming his palm on the table. Dig up everything you can about them, and look into any connections between the vast Heaven Imperium and the vast Heaven God Realm. What about the Empress's illness? Continue searching for dragon beachgrass. Raise the reward. The dragon god Saint Sovereign ordered. Your Majesty, said Demon Minister Wei, I may need to leave for a while. Back to the god-fiend Abyss Heaven? Demon Minister Wei nodded. Following Elder Bai's lead, the group didn't stay in the Dragon God City for long before preparing to depart again. I am Bai Shangjie. The elder introduced himself. And truth be told, the two of you ought to be thanking me. Thank you? For what? Wu Zhaodi asked. Even without your help, the people of the Dragon God Imperium couldn't have done anything to us. I want to know, Elder Bai said, what exactly happened inside the primordial dragon's tomb? Su Zimo gave a brief, simple account, though he left out the part about killing the primordial dragon. He only mentioned that the people of the vast Heaven Imperium and the Three Luan Holy Lands had been fighting, and he and Wu Zhaodi had escaped in the chaos. Then Su Zimo asked, Is Qi Haoran of the vast Heaven God Realm currently at the sect? You wish to see Realm Lord Qi? Elder Bai asked, his tone puzzled. I was entrusted by an old friend to deliver something to him, Su Zimo replied. An old friend of the Realm Lord? Elder Bai laughed lightly. And who might that be? Never mind, whatever it is, give it to me. I'll pass it along to the Realm Lord. You won't do. I must hand it to Qi Haoran personally, Su Zimo said, shaking his head. Whether you can see him or not is another matter. He's currently in seclusion, Elder Bai said. But for now, you'll come back to the vast Heaven God Realm with me. He waved his hand, and the winds around them began to stir violently. A strange whistling sound echoed in the air. Moments later, a massive bird emerged from the distant clouds, soaring toward them. It was enormous, like a great rock with wings so vast they blotted out half the sky. Its feathers shimmered blue, though many were shedding as it descended. The giant bird landed silently before them. Come aboard, Elder Bai said, stepping onto the creature's back first. I was planning to visit the vast Heaven God Realm anyway, Su Zimo said. But tell me, do you also think I carry the inheritance? Whether you do or not doesn't matter, Elder Bai said with a shrug. The primordial dragon's legacy doesn't concern me, but you'll need to remain at the vast Heaven God Realm for 7 days before you can leave. Consider it a formality to give the Dragon God Imperium a proper explanation. Su Zimo could tell that the vast Heaven God Realm and the vast Heaven Imperium had already reached some sort of secret understanding. Taking the two of them to the sect was merely a way to keep the Dragon God Saint Sovereign from becoming suspicious. Tell me about Qi Haoran, Su Zimo said as he settled on the bird's back. Qi Haoran is known as the Primordial Sword Saint Sovereign, Wu Zhaodi said. The title refers to how he perfectly merged the power of the sword with the power of strength itself. When the vast heaven god realm was first founded, it was nothing more than an insignificant little sect. They practiced the cultivation of righteous energy and took it upon themselves to right the injustices of the world, true champions of virtue. Gradually, their name spread far and wide, though they also made many enemies along the way. "Oh, seems this young lady knows quite a bit," Elderby said with a soft chuckle. The great bird beneath them let out a sharp cry, slicing through the silent sky like a beam of light before soaring swiftly away, soon becoming a distant black speck. A few blue feathers drifted down through the air and vanished. "It's said that Qi Haoran cultivates the heaven-shattering God scripture," Wu Zhaodi continued, ignoring the elder's teasing. "He uses pure strength to seek the Tao, and in the end, he fused that power into his swordsmanship. Every person who ever came seeking revenge against him fell to his sword, without exception. The real event that made Qi Haoran and the vast heaven god realm famous, however," she went on, "was the battle at Drifting War Mountain. At that time, experts from all the great powers of the southern region challenged him, accusing him of disturbing the region's peace. But Qi Haoran went alone, with nothing but his sword. He tore Drifting War Mountain from the earth and shattered the might of his enemies, defeating them all single-handedly." "That's both right and wrong," Elderby said with a smile. "What's wrong about it?" Wu Zhaodi asked, frowning. "As the Grand Elder of the vast heaven god realm, surely I know a bit more than you do," he said, still smiling. "It's true that all the great powers were defeated that day, but Qi Haoran was not fighting alone. There was another person with him. They won because the two of them joined forces." "Who? How come I've never heard of this person?" Wu Zhaodi asked curiously. "That was—" Elderby suddenly trailed off. "Forget it," he said after a pause, waving a hand. "That was a long time ago. Best not to bring it up again." "I bet you don't actually know and are just pretending," Wu Zhaodi muttered. Elderby only smiled, offering no argument. "Are we far from the vast heaven god realm?" Su Zimo asked. "Less than 3 days' flight," Elderby replied. "Have you ever seen this before?" Su Zimo asked, taking out a token. It was the inheritance token of the heaven-shattering God scripture, the same one heaven's equal emperor had entrusted to him. At first, Elderby didn't pay much attention. On the front of the token was an image of a giant splitting the heavens and the earth apart. But as he looked closer, his expression grew slightly tense. Before he could say anything, Su Zimo had already put the token away. "Let me take a closer look," Elderby said hurriedly. "I want to see Qi Haoran," Su Zimo said bluntly. "That's not my decision to make," Elderby replied seriously. "But I can report the matter to the Vice Lord. When I'm allowed to meet Qi Haoran, you can examine the token," Su Zimo said calmly. "Where did you get it?" Elderby pressed. "I told you already, from an old friend," Su Zimo replied. Elderby frowned, then suddenly reached out with his right hand, trying to snatch the token by force. Su Zimo's fist clenched. He threw a punch straight at him. A thunderous boom erupted as their powers collided, the air itself trembling under the pressure. Their fists and palms met head-on. Su Zimo stood firm, while Elderby was knocked backward, his body thrown into the air. The giant bird screeched and dove swiftly, catching him on its back again. "No wonder you're so arrogant, you've got some skill after all," Elderby said grimly. Azure Spiral Wind. With a sharp cry, violent gales gathered around his hand. His arm twisted as he drew power, the endless winds swirling and shaking the heavens themselves. The air turned a vivid blue, the wind itself leaving visible trails in the sky. "Be careful," Wu Zhaodi warned. The Azure Spiral Wind is a gravitational wind technique, derived from the heaven-shattering God scripture. "The heaven-shattering God scripture?" Su Zimo said with a faint, amused smile. "Winds of vast heaven, rise!" Elderby roared, stepping on the air as if he were part of the storm. His body suddenly grew heavy as a mountain, and his palm descended from above like the sky itself collapsing. The void along his path shattered in waves. Su Zimo took a step back, the bird still flying forward steadily beneath them. The two men fought across its broad back, attack and counterattack flashing like lightning. "Give me the token and I'll let you go," Elder Bai said coldly. "So, greed has taken hold of Elder Bai's heart," Su Zimo said lightly. "Think carefully," Elder Bai warned, eyes filled with murderous intent. "If you force my hand, I won't hold back." "You're not qualified," Su Zimo replied. "I only wanted to test your heaven-shattering power, but it seems you haven't truly mastered the method. You've merely infused your wind technique with brute strength." "Arrogant fool," Elder Bai shouted, his body merging with the storm as countless gales came crashing down upon Su Zimo. But Su Zimo didn't flinch. The power vortexes within him spun faster and faster. With a single palm strike, he shattered the storm, then slammed his hand into Elder Bai's chest. A deafening boom echoed. Elder Bai spat blood and was flung backward once again. "Broken by sheer force," he muttered in disbelief, glancing down at the dent in his chest. He ignored his injury, more stunned than pained. Su Zimo had just destroyed his azure spiral wind with nothing but raw strength. "You've cultivated the heaven-shattering power," Elder Bai said gravely. "Still want to fight?" Su Zimo asked. "Be glad I'm letting you live, for the sake of your sect. The old friend you mentioned must be Heaven's equal emperor," Elder Bai said after a deep sigh. "Then let me guess," Su Zimo replied. "The other man who fought beside Chi Haoran at Drifting War Mountain was Heaven's equal emperor himself, wasn't it?" "Yes," Elder Bai said after a long silence, finally nodding. "That's right. If Chi Haoran deserves half the credit for what the vast heaven god realm has become, the other half belongs to Heaven's equal emperor." "Then why did Heaven's equal emperor end up like that?" Su Zimo asked. "Where did you meet him?" Elder Bai countered. "You don't need to know that," Su Zimo said calmly. "Just tell me, why did he fall so low?" Su Zimo had no intention of revealing anything about the primordial heartlands or his own origins. "That's a secret," Elder Bai said. "If you truly wish to know, ask Realm Lord Chi yourself." The bird continued its flight toward the vast heaven god realm. Along the way, silence fell between them. 2 days later, the great bird finally began to slow its pace. "We've arrived at the vast heaven god realm," Elder Bai said. Meanwhile, tens of billions of miles away, within the ancient demon realm, Demon Minister Wei had not rested for several weeks. He rushed back in haste, reporting everything he had seen to the higher ranks of the ancient demon race. Few knew the truth of his identity. He was, in fact, a descendant of Hellfire Azura. He was a direct descendant, carrying the bloodline of Hellfire Azura himself. From birth, he never lacked cultivation resources. His appointment as an official in the Dragon God Imperium was merely part of a trial, a means to strengthen ties with the Empire and secure future benefits. The ancient demon realm lay at the center of the God-fiend Abyss Heaven, deeply concealed within an inner world. Ordinary people could never find it, and even saint sovereigns dared not enter. Endless demonic energy surged into the heavens. The God-fiend Abyss Heaven, also known as the Lesser God-fiend Abyss Heaven, was the true homeland of the demons. Hundreds of billions of ancient demons lived here, though none could leave without express command. Only demons like Demon Minister Wei, who held external posts, had that privilege. At the very heart of the ancient demon realm, the demonic energy grew denser and more vast, so thick it resembled storm clouds that completely blotted out the sky. Beneath that shroud of darkness stood 2 great demon mountains. This was forbidden ground. Unless one held a transcendent status, no demon was allowed to enter. Even Demon Minister Wei had to request permission before he could see if he was qualified. Upon returning to the ancient demon realm, Demon Minister Wei reported everything that had happened with Su Zimo to the demon hierarchy. But even the High Council could not handle the matter. Su Zimo had specifically requested to meet with the 2 ancient demon patriarchs. With no other option, the High Council relayed his message word for word. Between the 2 demon mountains, which had lain silent for countless ages, a single sigh broke the stillness. The air was warm, the grass lush, the breeze gentle. How many years has it been? Came a voice from the left mountain. 685,948,000 years. 685,948,000 years. Answered the voice from the right, calm and precise. Seems you wake up every year to keep count, celestial devourer. The left mountain's voice said with a faint laugh. The master has returned, replied the right mountain's voice coolly. Celestial devourer, do you still recognize him as our master? The left mountain's voice fell silent for a moment before continuing. If he were truly the same master, I would acknowledge him. But after 600 million years, everything has changed. This master is not the one we once followed. His blood still flows the same. His conviction remains unbroken. If that is so, he is our master. The right voice insisted. That depends on whether he deserves it. I, Hellfire Azura, will never bow to mediocrity. The left voice replied coldly. I've schemed for countless ages to secure the peace we now have. Do you expect me to throw that all away and let us be destroyed again? You've forgotten your original purpose. The right voice, Celestial Devourer, said softly, without anger. My original purpose? Hellfire Azura asked, his tone defiant. Indeed, after all these eons, even the strongest conviction can be corroded by time. Celestial Devourer sighed. What do you mean by that? Hellfire Azura snapped. Are you suggesting I have forgotten? The demon mountain trembled. The demonic energy surged violently, as Celestial Devourer's voice echoed through the air. Hellfire, don't say I didn't warn you. The corruption of the mortal ascension heaven and the rise of the liches, was that your doing? I may have slept through the ages, but there's nothing that escapes me. Shall I list every detail? So what if it was me? Hellfire Azura sneered. Don't forget, in the beginning, our ancient demon race only sought freedom, not domination. We never wished to become the enemies of the world. Yet now, somehow, we stand against the heavens themselves. There's a being who has promised us acceptance, that as long as we don't betray him, we can coexist peacefully within this world. Why should we follow someone to defy the heavens again? You fool! Celestial Devourer snapped. The only reason we've been spared is because the heavenly Tao wants to divide us, to make us turn on each other. If our master were truly dead, we'd be the first to be slaughtered. Celestial Devourer, spare me the fear-mongering. Hellfire Azura laughed coldly. Fear-mongering? Then why did you raise the liches and the undead? You're preparing a fallback path, aren't you? Celestial Devourer mocked. Hellfire Azura fell silent. Indeed, he trusted neither the heavenly Tao nor anyone else. To leave oneself a way out, that was wisdom. Don't say I didn't warn you, Hellfire Azura said. I've investigated that man since his days in the mortal realm. Now he's just an ordinary human. He probably couldn't even defeat us. And you expect him to lead a war against the heavens? Ridiculous. No matter what, he remains my master, Celestial Devourer replied. Have you forgotten the demon oath we swore? I haven't, Hellfire Azura said flatly. But Celestial Devourer, you do as you wish. As for me, I like the peace we have now. Tell him to stay away. I won't interfere with him if he leaves me be. If he insists on opposing me, I'll fight him to the death. Hellfire Azura, millions of years of slumber seem to have emboldened you, Celestial Devourer sneered. I remember when you didn't even dare look the master in the eye. Celestial Devourer, I'll say this once, this is not the ancient era anymore. Understand, Hellfire Azura said sharply. Yet even as anger stirred, a strange calm followed. After all these endless years, nothing in the world should have been able to provoke such emotion from him. And yet, today he felt it. Then, the demonic energy surrounding the mountain grew still. I've been overthinking it, Hellfire Azura sighed. Celestial Devourer, what do you intend to do? So long as he is the master, I will follow him, Celestial Devourer said simply. To me, beyond the dreams of our race, I wish only to see the peak of this world. And in all existence, Only the Master has the power to reach it. He cannot, Hellfire Azura retorted. At least he makes the heavenly Tao tremble. Celestial Devourer replied with a faint smile. Tell me, is there anyone else in this world who can do that? I have no wish to fight him, Hellfire Azura said at last. Tell him he may walk his path to defy the heavens. I will walk my own path of peace. Celestial Devourer said nothing more. The mountain that had lain sealed for untold eons began to quake. Rocks fell and shattered as the massive peak split open. From within surged a storm of demonic energy, and through it, a shadowy figure shot into the sky. Celestial Devourer, you'll regret your choice today, came Hellfire Azura's voice. But the world was already silent once more. No one answered. Vast heaven god realm. Heaven and earth contain the righteous will. When grand virtue fills the world, peace reigns beneath the sky. These lines, written by the primordial sword Chihauren, embody the spirit of the sect. That true righteousness itself sustains balance and harmony in the world. For tens of millions of years, vast heaven god realm had always revered Chihauren as its realm lord. Yet though he bore the title, he rarely interfered in sect affairs. Most of his time was spent in seclusion. Day-to-day matters were handled by the Vice Lord instead. When Su Zimo and his companions arrived, riding atop the massive bird, they saw a grand sect hidden amidst drifting clouds, like an immortal paradise. But unlike an ethereal realm, it did not radiate mystical distance or divine awe. Instead, it exuded a deep and steady righteous aura, a sense of balance and integrity that seemed to belong to heaven and earth themselves. The vast heaven god realm gate was rectangular and sky blue, built without a roof, symbolizing infinity and boundlessness. Two guards in long robes stood at either side, red-tasseled spears in hand. Their posture was upright, their gaze steady, their very presence brimming with moral strength. Looking past the gates, one could see the vastness of the sect, an entire world protected by grand formation arrays aligned with the heavenly Tao itself, radiating prosperity and harmony. Interesting, Su Zimo murmured. At the heart of the sect stood a tall tower known as the Ancient Sword Tower. Though only 100,000 meters high, modest by immortal standards, it dominated the skyline because most of the surrounding buildings were only a few stories tall. Please wait here, said Elder Bai. I'll go inform the Vice Lord. It may take some time to discuss the matter. He smiled politely. You may rest first. When the Vice Lord agrees to meet, you can speak to him directly. Su Zimo nodded. The journey had been long and tiring, and a short rest would do no harm. Your Vice Lord is named Xiao Huijun, correct? Wu Zhaodi suddenly asked. Elder Bai nodded. I heard your Vice Lord is narrow-minded, she said bluntly. And that's since the Realm Lord went into seclusion. He's been trying to take his place. Where did Miss Wu hear such rumors? Elder Bai asked with an awkward smile. It was true, of course, but as a senior member of the sect, he could not admit it. I mean, no offense, Wu Zhaodi said. I just worry that if your Vice Lord gets greedy, we'll have walked straight into the wolf's den. That won't happen, Elder Bai insisted quickly. Our sect stands for righteousness and justice. It's in our creed. Is that so? Wu Zhaodi raised an eyebrow. Has Elder Bai already forgotten what happened just now? Her words hit home. Moments ago, Elder Bai himself had tried to snatch the token of the heaven-shattering God scripture from Su Zimo. Indeed, even righteous men had private greed in the face of treasure. How much more dangerous, then, was a small-minded man like Xiao Huijun? Elder Bai fell silent. Some things were better left unsaid, though in his heart he understood. Since the Realm Lord went into seclusion and Xiao Huijun assumed control, the sect's once pure righteousness had begun to fade. Perhaps it's best if I go first, to sound out the Vice Lord's attitude? Elder Bai suggested cautiously. Go ahead, Su Zimo said with a calm smile. We've nothing to fear. If vast heaven god realm truly means to act unjustly, then after today, there will be no more vast heaven god realm in this world. His voice was soft, but to Elder Bai, it struck like thunder, heavy and absolute. Su Zimo was too mysterious to gauge. His strength aside, the fact that he possessed one of the 10 God Scripture, the heaven-shattering God Scripture, and sought to return it voluntarily was beyond comprehension. Master Su, Elder Bai said carefully, may I ask what your request is? I'll need to relay it accurately to the Vice Lord. I have no requests, Su Zimo replied. Just remember this. The token will be shown only to Chi Haoran himself. I'll deliver the message personally, Elder Bai promised, bowing before leaving to report. He arranged comfortable quarters for Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi, a large hall where maids served tea and set out fruits and delicacies. Then he excused himself. Do you still want revenge? Su Zimo asked, glancing toward Wu Zhaodi. She raised her eyes, watching Elder Bai's departing figure fade into the distance. Celestial Luan God Realm? You said I wasn't strong enough. There's a chance now, Su Zimo said. You mean vast heaven God Realm? She asked quickly. He nodded. I'm returning the heaven-shattering God Scripture to them. That alone will earn me a favor. But I don't need their gratitude. You, however, could make use of it. His tone was light, but Wu Zhaodi's pupils shrank sharply. She knew exactly what that meant. The celestial Luan God Realm was strong, but compared to vast heaven God Realm, it was a full tier below. What do you want in return? She asked, regaining her composure. Even with the chance for vengeance so near, she remained cautious. The favor he was offering was too great to accept freely. I have some enemies, Su Zimo said casually. If they're your enemies and you can't handle them, what good would I be? Wu Zhaodi countered. She knew well the gulf between their strengths. I'm not asking you to fight them, Su Zimo smiled. I want you to join them. Huh? Join them? She blinked. Explain yourself. I don't know how powerful their organization truly is, Su Zimo said. But there are few things in this world they cannot do. I want you to infiltrate them, to help me gather information. They sound terrifying, she said. How could I even get close, let alone join? I can't guarantee anything, Su Zimo admitted. There's a real chance you might die. Wu Zhaodi was silent for a long time. Finally, she looked up. If I can have my revenge, my life is yours to command. The celestial Luan God Realm isn't a problem, Su Zimo said lightly. That will come soon enough. Then how do I reach these people? She asked. You won't have to, he replied. They'll find you. When? I don't know, Su Zimo said. But they will. Then I'll follow your orders, Wu Zhaodi said firmly. When they do find you, Su Zimo added quietly, they will erase your consciousness first. Erase my consciousness? Wu Zhaodi's expression showed panic. If my consciousness is erased, how will I contact you? That's why you must cultivate a second consciousness, in other words, your own mental duplicate, Su Zimo said calmly. Ordinary clones are external incarnations, a body outside the body. You don't need that. You only need to hide one consciousness within your mind. Hide a consciousness? Wu Zhaodi's eyes brightened in surprise. Su Zimo nodded. Back at White Emperor Mountain, he had once obtained the method of cultivating an external incarnation, White Emperor's own avatar, who managed the mountain by his command. That inheritance had also contained the technique of cultivating pure consciousness. That's right, Su Zimo explained. You don't need to form a physical body, just cultivate the consciousness itself. If your main awareness is erased, this hidden one will awaken and continue to observe secretly. How will I send messages to you then? Wu Zhaodi asked. We'll meet once every 3 years, Su Zimo said. Here in the vast heaven God realm. Fine, but only if you promise to help me get revenge, Wu Zhaodi replied after some thought. I want to kill the current realm lord of celestial Luan God realm myself. Su Zimo nodded. That's not difficult. He had planned to wait here for the arrival of the ancient demon race anyway. He wanted to settle that matter first before helping her avenge her past. As they spoke, noise suddenly erupted outside the hall. Dozens of men surrounded the building, blades drawn, eyes full of killing intent. It seems someone doesn't know the rules, Suzimo said with a faint smile. He and Wu Zhaodi stood up and walked out of the hall. What is the meaning of this? Wu Zhaodi demanded. A blue-robed elder stepped forward, and the others split into two lines to make way for him. Young man, he said coldly, I hear you have taken our sect's ancestral treasure. Return it, and vast heaven god realm will count you as a friend for generations to come. The man had a neatly trimmed mustache, a whip of righteous energy at his waist, and an arrogant glint in his eye. And who might you be? Wu Zhaodi asked. Second Grand Elder of vast heaven god realm, the man replied proudly. Vast river. Did Elder Bai send you here? Wu Zhaodi asked again. Why so many questions? Vast river snapped impatiently. Hand over our ancestral token. Suzimo smiled faintly, taking out the token. The inheritance token is right here, he said. If you have the ability, come and take it yourself. Impudent brat. Do you know what happens to those who provoke me? Vast river growled. He rose into the air, his righteous whip cracking through the void as he lashed down fiercely at Suzimo. Suzimo calmly put the token away and caught the whip with one hand. Sharp energy rippled from the whip, but he didn't even flinch. The whip stretched taut between them, one end in Vast River's hand, the other in Suzimo's, as the two struggled for control. Vast River snorted coldly. Frost poured from his palm, racing along the whip and freezing Suzimo in place within an instant. Use the mountain of everlasting righteousness to suppress him, Vast River ordered. The blue-robed men moved quickly, forming a formation together. Their hands shaped the image of a great mountain, right over left, channeling yellow spirit energy that surged into the sky. Wu Zhaodi looked up, storm clouds gathered overhead, and a massive mountain appeared out of nowhere, rumbling with deafening force. Suppress! The blue-robed men shouted in unison, and the mountain fell with the might to crush heaven and earth. Crackling sounds suddenly rang out. The ice that bound Suzimo began to fracture, splinter by splinter. Hurry! Vast River shouted anxiously. Just as the mountain of everlasting righteousness was about to fall, the ice around Suzimo shattered completely. As the shadow of the mountain loomed, a colossal figure rose behind Suzimo, the heaven-shattering giant, towering to the heavens. You've spent your life seeking the heaven-shattering God Scripture, Suzimo said with a faint smile. Now you can experience it for yourself. The giant roared, raising both arms and catching the falling mountain effortlessly. It stood behind Suzimo like a living wall of power, glaring down at the stunned crowd. The blue-robed men faltered, fear creeping into their eyes. Don't be rash. This is vast heaven god realm, Vast River shouted. Vast heaven god realm? Suzimo sneered. If I were afraid, would I have come here at all? The giant gripped the righteous mountain and hurled it toward the crowd. The blue-robed men scattered in terror like startled birds. Vast River was shaken too, but he didn't dare flee. Behind him, his true fate appeared, an enormous ice crystal serpent. The serpent's body coiled upward into the sky, its tongue flicking, its cold eyes locked on Suzimo. As the mountain of everlasting righteousness crashed down, the serpent opened its mouth and unleashed a torrent of icy wind. The entire void froze over instantly, layers of thick frost spreading across the heavens. The mountain slammed into the frozen field and was sealed in ice. The serpent managed to hold it, but cracks split across its crystalline body, threatening to shatter it at any moment. Finally held it off, Vast River muttered, wiping cold sweat from his brow. You think it's over? Suzimo smiled coldly. At his words, the heaven-shattering giant leapt skyward, its enormous form crashing down on the frozen mountain with overwhelming force. Master Su, please stop, Elder Bai's voice shouted from afar. Suzimo turned to see Elder Bai rushing over with a group of people, panic on his face. Vast heaven god realm means you no harm, Elder Bai said quickly. This was the second elder's doing alone. When I found out, I came as fast as I could to stop it. Seems to me some of you just wanted to test me, Suzimo said evenly. Please, there's no need for violence. Let's talk this through. Another man stepped forward. He was middle-aged, calm but dignified. I am Chao Huijun, the Vice Lord of vast heaven god realm.
My word is love here.
Su Zimo's gaze was cold. Whoever you are, you've offended me, and that deserves punishment. He lowered his right hand, and the heaven-shattering giant came crashing down completely. With a thunderous impact, the ice shattered into fragments. The ice crystal serpent screamed and exploded into shards, and the second elder's dying cry echoed through the hall. Dust rose high, the ground beneath them cracked inch by inch. Vice Realm Lord Chao Huijun's eyes narrowed, fury flickering across his face. Vice Lord, this man is too arrogant. Several elders behind him shouted angrily. Elder Bai sighed softly. He knew the situation had escalated beyond repair. Chao Huijun's expression shifted between calm and fury as he stared at Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi. Dressed in a flowing white robe, he looked refined and elegant, a folding fan in hand engraved with mountains and rivers. Vice Lord, should we just... Someone beside him whispered. The inheritance token is important. Elder Bai reminded in a low voice. Take the second elder out for treatment first, Chao Huijun ordered. Disciples rushed into the rubble and dragged out the gravely injured second elder. The token, Chao Huijun said as he stepped forward, his tone even. I can overlook what happened with the second elder, but the token must stay. Elder Bai, didn't I already tell you my terms? Su Zimo asked, ignoring Chao Huijun entirely and fixing his gaze on the elder. I know you intend to give it to Realm Lord Qi, Chao Huijun interjected. But Realm Lord Qi is in deep seclusion. Disturbing him now could have catastrophic consequences. None of us could bear that responsibility. That's fine, Su Zimo said calmly. I plan to stay in vast heaven god realm for a while anyway. I can wait. And what if Realm Lord Qi never emerges? Chao Huijun pressed. If he doesn't come out before I leave, Su Zimo said coldly, then the inheritance token will no longer have any connection to vast heaven god realm. Whether he emerges or not is your problem, not mine. There's no need for hostility between us, Chao Huijun suddenly said with a faint smile. I believe vast heaven god realm and Master Su could become lifelong allies. Name your condition, anything within our power, we will agree to it. This token was entrusted to me by Heaven's equal emperor himself, Su Zimo said. If he didn't say to give it to you, then you'll never have it. Heaven's equal emperor. He's not dead? Chao Huijun's smile vanished as he spoke softly. Su Zimo didn't answer. Instead, he turned to Elder Bai. Find us a courtyard. We'll be staying for a while. Are you sure about this, Master Su? Chao Huijun asked, narrowing his eyes. Do you not understand plain words? Su Zimo shot back. Very well, Chao Huijun said through gritted teeth. A man of spine indeed. He turned to the elder and barked. Elder Bai, prepare our guest the finest courtyard. Make sure he's well looked after. Without another word, he turned and left, the other elders and disciples trailing behind him. Only Elder Bai remained, shaking his head and sighing. Master Su, there's no need to provoke them like this. It'll end badly for everyone. Just arrange the place, Su Zimo said evenly. As for a fight, your vast heaven god realm doesn't concern me. Elder Bai sighed again but didn't argue. He led Su Zimo and Wu Zhaodi to a courtyard. This is Zenith Courtyard, he said simply. You may stay here. If you need anything, come to me. That's all I can do. Elder Bai, if Realm Lord Qi emerges, let me know immediately, Su Zimo said. It's unlikely he will, Elder Bai replied with a shake of his head. Is there any way to make him come out? Wu Zhaodi asked. Only if he chooses to come out himself, Elder Bai explained. Or if the sect faces a moment of true life and death. But both possibilities were nearly impossible. Vast heaven god realm was flourishing, with 3 saint sovereigns and thousands of grand emperors. Even without Qi Haoran, they had 2 saint sovereigns on standby. There was no need to fear any faction. and Chi Haoran had been in seclusion for tens of thousands of years. He would not emerge lightly. "Go about your duties, Elder Bai," Su Zimo said with a nod. After the elder left, Wu Zhaodi turned to him. "What will you do now?" "Wait," Su Zimo said with a faint smile. "Waiting isn't a solution," Wu Zhaodi frowned. "I was wrong about one thing," Su Zimo said, raising his eyes toward the north, the direction of the ancient demon realm. "I'm not waiting for Chi Haoran. I'm waiting for them." He was waiting for the ancient demon race. As for Chi Haoran, if he emerged, Su Zimo would give him the token, fulfilling Heaven's Equal Emperor's final wish. If he didn't, Su Zimo would simply leave. "Do you want to learn the heaven-shattering God scripture?" Su Zimo suddenly asked. "Me?" Wu Zhaodi was stunned, unable to believe it. The 10 primordial God scriptures were legendary, the dream of countless cultivators across the 9 heavens. But for Su Zimo it was optional, almost trivial. After all, if Wu Zhaodi didn't learn it, it would go back to vast heaven god realm anyway. At least if she did, it would strengthen one of his own. "Yes," Wu Zhaodi said firmly, her eyes blazing with determination. Meanwhile, in vast heaven god realm's council hall, chaos reigned. Everyone was talking at once, some urging war, others suggesting calling out Realm Lord Qi. "It's our ancestral inheritance token. Losing it would disgrace our forebears." "That's right. The heaven-shattering God scripture is priceless. We can't afford to lose it again. We must wake Realm Lord Qi. And what if he's on the verge of breaking through? Will you take responsibility if something goes wrong?" Elders shouted back and forth, voices rising in anger. "Enough! Stop this childish bickering." Qiao Huijun slammed the table, silencing the hall. "Vice Lord, this decision must come from you," someone said after a moment of quiet. Once again, the burden fell squarely on his shoulders. "I'll consult the 2 ancestors," Qiao Huijun said with a frown. By ancestors, he meant vast heaven god realm's 2 saint sovereigns. "What's that man's cultivation level?" Qiao Huijun asked, turning to Elder Bai. "Probably a Grand Emperor," Elder Bai said uncertainly. "A mere Grand Emperor dares to act wantonly in my vast heaven god realm?" Qiao Huijun snorted coldly. "Courage he has, but it's the kind that gets fools killed." The next few days passed in uneasy silence. The entire sect seemed calm, but beneath the surface, everyone could feel the storm gathering. Su Zimo, however, remained utterly composed, eating, drinking, and resting as if nothing were wrong. Then, one afternoon, Qiao Huijun appeared again with several elders in tow. "Have you 2 been comfortable these past few days?" he asked with a smile. "Good enough," Su Zimo said flatly. "Master Su, I'll give you one last chance," Qiao Huijun said. "Will you hand over the inheritance token?" "So you've decided to fight," Su Zimo said calmly. The hostility in their formation made their intent obvious. "Young one," a raspy voice suddenly echoed through the air. "Don't say we bully you." Without warning, fierce winds swept through the courtyard. A figure emerged from the storm. A mighty wind arose, and the clouds rolled across the sky. Amidst the raging gale, an aged figure slowly appeared. "I'll let you strike 3 times first," the old man said calmly, "lest others say I bully the young." Su Zimo lifted his gaze toward the speaker. The old man's hair was tied in a single braid atop his head, like ancient scholars used to wear, giving him an air of refinement. He wore a Saiyan scholar's robe embroidered with mysterious patterns, his eyes deep and composed. His nose was slightly sunken, his lips dry and cracked. As he approached, the power of a saint sovereign surged from him without restraint. The overwhelming pressure rolled forward like a tidal wave, crashing toward Su Zimo to assert his dominance. "Boy, don't say I didn't give you a chance," the old man said again. 3 moves. I won't strike first." "And who might you be?" Su Zimo asked bluntly. "He's one of vast heaven god realm's 3 saint sovereigns, the martial spirit saint sovereign," Wu Zhaodi quickly explained from the side. "Among vast heaven's strongest, There are three: Martial Spirit Saint Sovereign, War Heaven Saint Sovereign, and the Primordial Sword Saint Sovereign, Chi Howren. The first stage of the Saint Sovereign realm, Supreme Giant. Su Zimo murmured after sensing the old man's aura. He remembered what Paimon had once told him, the 5 stages of the Saint Sovereign. This old man seemed to be at the first stage, a Supreme Giant. Even so, the first step of a Saint Sovereign was far beyond what a Grand Emperor could match. Of vast heaven's 3 ancestors, Wu Zhaodi added, both Martial Spirit and War Heaven are said to be Supreme Giants. As for Chi Howren, his realm is a mystery. He was already an eternal overlord over 100,000 years ago. No one knows how far he's gone now. No matter, Su Zimo said with a faint smile. He looked at the Martial Spirit Saint Sovereign. Are you certain you'll give me 3 strikes? When have I ever gone back on my word? The old man replied. I'll make it simple. If you lose, leave the inheritance token and depart on your own. I won't lose, Su Zimo said flatly. He waved his hand, and Shadow Tyrant flew from its sheath, radiating boundless blade intent. Without any further motion, he stepped forward, the power of his blade surging like a storm. He raised Shadow Tyrant high and struck fiercely toward the old man. A fine blade, and your intent is decent, the Martial Spirit Saint Sovereign said, evaluating him as one might a junior. But it's not enough. His hands remained clasped behind his back, showing no sign of concern. When the blade intent came crashing down from above, he merely raised his right hand, where the primal Tao of wind gathered. Wisps of breeze swirled around his palm. Su Zimo noticed that many in vast heaven god realm cultivated wind-based laws. It was clearly the Sex Foundation. When the old man lifted his hand, the force of wind met the descending blade. The Martial Spirit Saint Sovereign's expression remained unchanged. One move, he said calmly. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes but did not withdraw his sword. Instead, the power of all living beings, the power of faith, erupted from within him. The old man's strength lay in his mastery of deflection, using the nature of wind to dissolve his opponent's attacks. That was why he stood unmoved. But as Su Zimo's power of faith burst forth, Shadow Tyrant flared brighter, its intent multiplying 1,000-fold. He unleashed all 19 forms of Tao seeking, his blade suppressing the heavens, reversing reincarnation itself. Cracks spiderwebbed through the very fabric of space. Yet the Martial Spirit Saint Sovereign still appeared unhurried, the primal Tao of wind swirling in his palm as he moved to catch the strike again. But at that instant, Su Zimo's own primal Tao of wind erupted around him. The power of a primal Tao? The old man exclaimed in shock. Caught off guard, he tried to evade, but Shadow Tyrant was already upon him. With a flash of silver light, his right hand was severed cleanly. The Martial Spirit Saint Sovereign's body staggered backward, retreating rapidly. How's that strike? Su Zimo asked, resting his blade on his shoulder with a faint smile. I underestimated you, the old man admitted. But how can a mere Grand Emperor wield the power of Primal Tao? Is cultivating Primal Tao so difficult? Su Zimo asked. It's nearly impossible, the Martial Spirit Saint Sovereign replied firmly. What you can't do doesn't make it impossible, Su Zimo smiled. It just means you have skill issues. Humph. Then I'll capture you and question you myself, the old man said darkly. If earlier he had only aimed for the inheritance token, now his greed had doubled. A Grand Emperor who could grasp a primal Tao, that was a power that could overturn the heavens. Tiger Crane twin form, the old man roared, charging forward. This time he didn't hold back. His stance was as graceful as a crane, yet his momentum as fierce as a tiger. He moved with uncanny precision, not mere imitation, but true embodiment, his aura fusing completely with the essence of the beasts. Be careful, Wu Zhaodi warned. The Martial Spirit Saint Sovereign entered the path of Tao through martial forms. He observed all living creatures and merged them into his own path. Su Zimo focused his gaze. The old man's speed was astonishing. Wind cultivators were naturally swift. With a sharp cry like a crane's, He appeared instantly beside Su Zimo. Then came a thunderous tiger's roar. Behind the old man, a spectral tiger materialized, lunging at Su Zimo. Su Zimo raised Shadow Tyrant to block. The clash exploded with a deafening boom. The blade quivered violently. Even Su Zimo's arms went numb from the impact. Dragon-seizing hand! The martial spirit Saint Sovereign shouted next. A dragon's roar resounded, striking Su Zimo's mind like a psychic blast. His head buzzed with pain. The old man's hands, shaped like dragon claws, seized Su Zimo's shoulders and flung him outward. Eightfold heaven-splitting. Su Zimo roared. Endless blade intent burst forth from within him. The small blades formed by Lu Shang's transformation trembled violently inside his body. The martial spirit Saint Sovereign instantly leapt back, glancing at his palms, now covered in countless fine, even blade marks. What a domineering technique, he muttered. The light of blades filled the air around Su Zimo, dazzling and blinding. From every direction, heaven-splitting blade intent surged forth. In the next moment, the blades stormed toward the martial spirit Saint Sovereign. I admit you are exceptional, even among grand emperors you're extraordinary, the old man said gravely. But this is where it ends. Behind him, the shadow of a colossal beast slowly took form. As it inhaled, the very heavens and earth seemed to collapse inward, drawn toward its maw. Hurricanes roared as the winds converged. The beast had no fixed shape, its form constantly shifting, ethereal and formless. But its eyes glowed with tangible azure light. With one exhalation, the creature unleashed a tornado that engulfed the world. Su Zimo's figure was swept up by the cyclone, his body spinning violently within it. As expected, Su Zimo murmured to himself, facing a Saint Sovereign, even if only a supreme giant, head-on while still in the life-death stage, my strength is still lacking. Hurricane Prison! The martial spirit Saint Sovereign shouted once more. The roaring tornado began to rage violently, its azure winds swirling in unison, forming a massive ring in the air, with Su Zimo trapped at its center. Titan, the old patriarch commanded in a low voice. The encircling winds began to constrict, drawing closer and closer until the tornado vanished entirely. Su Zimo realized that his body had been completely bound by the remaining force of the wind. He couldn't move, not even a single step, and could only stand in place, restrained by the invisible cage. Mighty Ancestor! Disciples of the vast heaven god realm cheered from the side. Search him for the inheritance token, the martial spirit Saint Sovereign ordered. Yet before the disciples could even approach, arcs of lightning suddenly began to coil around Su Zimo's body. In this world, all things counter and restrain one another. The wind, for instance, has no form, yet though it lies outside the five elements, it is still subdued by thunder. The violent lightning tore through the binding winds with ease. Overhead, the heavens darkened as black clouds rolled in, turbulent and chaotic as if swept by a storm. The hurricane danced to the rhythm of thunder, while Su Zimo stood amidst it all like a god of lightning, thunder flickering across his body with deafening crackling bursts. Heaven-Earth Dharma Codex! Su Zimo roared. His body expanded, growing millions of times larger until he towered like a true giant, his presence shaking the sky. The primal Tao of thunder surged even more fiercely around him. Those watching swallowed hard in fear, their faces pale. Even the martial spirit Saint Sovereign grew grim. All of you fall back, he commanded. Behind him, the wind beast he had summoned opened its maw, releasing another surge of wild gales. But this time, Su Zimo did not get swept away. He walked forward, lightning dancing at his feet, like a god of thunder himself. The primal Tao of thunder and the primal Tao of wind collided again and again, battling for supremacy. How strange! The martial spirit Saint Sovereign muttered to himself. You've not only cultivated a primal Tao, you've even grasped more than one. Su Zimo didn't respond. All the primal Taos of the world were within his grasp. He could summon any at will. Against an opponent like this, the very nature of primal Tao itself gave him an unshakable advantage. "If you were a saint sovereign," the old man shouted, "I might actually fear you, but alas, you're just a grand emperor." His words were fierce, and the wind beast behind him grew even more menacing. "So what?" Su Zimo sneered. "Even if I can't kill you, you can't do anything to me." The martial spirit Saint Sovereign's face darkened. He knew Su Zimo was right. He couldn't subdue the young man. At best, they were evenly matched. To a Saint Sovereign, such a stalemate was humiliating, being unable to overcome someone a whole realm below him. Then again, the Saint Sovereign's power came from two things: mastery of primal Tao and deep comprehension of nomological truths. The difference between the two was vast. But Su Zimo already commanded the primal Taos. The only other advantage of a Saint Sovereign was the life-death soul, which didn't enhance combat strength, only made them harder to kill. Su Zimo, however, possessed the 10 primordial god scriptures, the hell-suppressing demon physique, his god world true fate, and many other godlike techniques. Even if he couldn't win outright, he could fight on equal terms indefinitely against a supreme giant. Just as the two sides reached a deadlock, a hearty laugh rang out from nearby. "Martial spirit, you've regressed with age. You can't even handle a single grand emperor." The martial spirit Saint Sovereign's expression grew even uglier. The disciples of vast heaven god realm, however, brightened instantly at the familiar voice. "It's War Heaven Saint Sovereign. Ancestor War Heaven has emerged." "That's right. Our vast heaven god realm has 3 Saint Sovereigns. Even if he can hold one off, there's no way he can withstand all 3. The martial spirit Saint Sovereign retreated slightly, separating from Su Zimo. Su Zimo looked up toward the source of the voice. In truth, he hadn't fought the old man to win. He'd only wanted to test the limits of his current strength. Judging from the battle, he could stand evenly against the first stage of a Saint Sovereign. But beyond that, he knew he wouldn't yet be a match. That might sound ordinary, but it was already extraordinary. The gulf between Grand Emperor and Saint Sovereign was too vast, almost impossible to bridge. Composing himself, Su Zimo turned his attention toward the newcomer. The man wore a long robe that resembled a leopard's hide, as if made from the pelt itself. He stood more than 2 meters tall, his imposing presence like that of a wild beast. Strangely, his face bore faint traces of makeup. His lips were a dark purplish-black, and the corners of his eyes were inked the same color. His brows were sharp, like twin blades, fierce and menacing, with a hint of wicked charm. "Greetings, Ancestor War Heaven." The surrounding disciples greeted respectfully. "Martial spirit, do you need my help?" War Heaven Saint Sovereign said with a smile as he approached. "Don't mock me," the martial spirit Saint Sovereign replied flatly. "Why don't you try it yourself? Don't make excuses for your incompetence," War Heaven said lazily. "I've no time to argue," the martial spirit Saint Sovereign said coldly. "This boy's riddled with secrets, he's not ordinary." "Then let's join forces and capture him first," War Heaven said, his expression turning serious. Mockery had its limits. When it came time to act, they both understood the stakes. The holy pressure of the 2 supreme giants erupted at once, their combined might flooding hundreds of billions of miles around them like an unstoppable tide. The aura of a single Saint Sovereign was terrifying enough, but 2 together were beyond comprehension. Su Zimo straightened his back, refusing to bow under their pressure, though the bones in his body crackled under the strain. "Boy, just surrender yourself," War Heaven said coldly. "You've watched long enough, haven't you?" Su Zimo smiled, not to them but to the distant sky. "Watched enough, indeed I have." A deep, booming laugh echoed across the heavens. At once, the sky darkened. 2 Saint Sovereigns of vast heaven god realm bullying a single youth. How admirable, truly inspiring. The laughter came with an overwhelming tide of demonic energy that filled the air, suffocating all present. Among the cultivators of vast heaven god realm, there was no greater fear than the demons. As rulers of the god-fiend abyss heaven, They knew better than anyone how powerful the ancient demon race truly was. Which honored one of the ancient demon race honors us today? War Heaven called out cautiously. Both he and the martial spirit Saint Sovereign could feel it, the oppressive aura of the newcomer. Whoever he was, his power far surpassed theirs by more than a little. What's this? You're surrendering already? The voice in the heavens taunted. He had not yet revealed himself, but the rolling sea of infernal energy blotted out the sun entirely. Within the churning darkness, lightning flickered faintly, weaving through the mists. Our vast heaven god realm has never offended Senior, War Heaven said, his tone respectful yet wary. May we ask why you've come? I am not here for you, the voice replied coldly, echoing from the heavens. I am here to seek my master. At those words, both War Heaven Saint Sovereign and Martial Spirit Saint Sovereign froze in confusion.